Welcome to GenXAdulting. Today we have a very special guest with us, our older son, Nathan. So, welcome, Nathan.
Hello, hello.
Our first question is, what year were you born?
1997,
And where were you born?
Oregon.
Okay, you were born outside of Portland. So, I'm sure you're aware of this by now just from us doing this podcast. But before we did this podcast, did you know you were a Gen Z?
No, maybe. But I'm sure there's some subtype thing that I'm about to get bucketed into.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think from the last episode, it's like Zillennial or something.
So you're a Zillennial,
Right.
which is a small group.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you've listened to past
And we get the best of
episodes.
both worlds.
You get the best of both worlds. For
Mhm.
those who haven't listened to those past episodes, Zillennials can relate to part of Gen Z and they can relate to part of the millennial group. They also spent most of their childhood without social media, without phones, without technology. Most didn't have TVs in their bedrooms, all that. The computer, if it was in the house, was in a centrally located location, not in their bedrooms. Even if they had Xbox, a lot of them, it was in a centrally located location. So you guys kind of, like you just said, got the best of both worlds. You got a traditional childhood and then social media and phones entered the world. And I know we're going to touch on that a little more later on in the episode. So you were born in Oregon. And how long did you live in Oregon?
2 years, right?
About two years,
Yeah,
just shy of 2 years.
Yeah.
I didn't have my consciousness yet.
Yeah, right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I don't remember anything until I was like 8,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like third, fourth grade.
Yeah, you were young when we left Portland.
Right. So where did we go after Oregon?
New Jersey, Sparta, New Jersey.
Yep, and that's where you actually celebrated your second birthday. So you were just shy of 2.
Yep.
What are your memories of living in New Jersey? Like what stands out to you?
Playing baseball. What was that? Station Park.
Yeah.
Playing baseball there. Going fishing when we had that boat.
Yep.
Mhm.
The like little John boat that would not work down here.
Yeah.
And then I'd say a lot of like family parties and stuff, because that was kind of our life. It was
Yeah.
school, sports, and then I felt like just because we were kids, it's not like I was going around doing things. There was play dates and stuff, but like,
Yeah.
Right.
now, even in like high school, middle school down here, it's like you made your own plans.
Right.
We'd bike around, but like I was so young that wasn't really a thing. So it was a lot of like family parties, major holidays, birthdays. I do remember going to Grammy and Granddad's a lot after
Yep.
school throughout the week and having dinner here and there.
Mhm.
And that might have even happened less frequently than I remember it. To me, it feels like we were there all the time.
Right.
Probably wasn't the case. But yeah, I'd say a lot of that. And there's like bits and pieces of, school things. I remember doing like bingo club and like we did the hacky sack club.
Yeah, yeah.
I think in like
really?
4th grade. Yeah, you two ran it, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I ran all the clubs, but I believe Dad came to
You might have come to
at
one.
I
least
don't even
one.
remember that.
Yeah,
now.
you came to one because Brian is actually still very good at hacky sacky. Like he just has a knack for it. And
A
so,
lot of time spent doing it.
yeah, in college.
Yeah.
But we started a club at your school. You went to Catholic school.
I do remember now that you say that you bought all those hacky sacks,
Yes.
and we had a pile of hacky sacks with us
off
as
of
we moved around.
off
and
of
stuff.
Oriental Trading for people who remember. I don't
Yeah,
even know
yeah.
if Oriental Trading is a thing anymore because Amazon's probably taken over.
Probably.
But at the time, Oriental Trading was the place you went to get pretty much anything related to kids and parties.
Which is really funny if you think about, because there was a pretty like straight edge community, I feel like, in Sparta.
Yeah.
And like some of the clubs were like, arts and crafts, bingo, very normal things. And then you have this Barker family hippie bullshit start the
Yeah.
hacky sack club
Yeah.
at what was it, Reverend Brown?
Reverend Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah. Catholic school. You were Catholic
I'm sure they
school
were
kid.
like, okay, yeah, you can do that.
It's
It
all
was-
innocent fun.
It was certainly the first hacky sack
For
club.
sure. Probably the only one.
And probably the only
Yeah.
one, right? And
That's funny.
do you remember your sister being born at all during that time?
No, I remember, like, obviously not when she was a little kid. I mean, we're only 3 years apart, right? So
3.5.
So those early years, I still have very spotty memories. I feel like up until like 10, it was like big deal things that happened that I remember that I could like pick out of a hat.
Right.
I remember going to her sports. Like she played softball. I remember that.
But for New Jersey, it's spotty.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was just kind of there.
Yeah.
And so then, and probably a lot of your, like you said, a lot of your main memories are with your cousins,
Yeah.
and that's where you got really close with your
Well,
cousins.
and it's this might sound bad, but her and I beefed a little bit when we were younger. Like we are best friends now, but we
Yeah.
were not like that
Right.
up until she was probably like 15, 16.
Right.
And obviously that relationship got better as time went on. But when we were younger, I remember because like I have two cousins that are older than me, and then one cousin who's like basically my age, and then another one that's like a year or two younger. And so I remember that group of like 4 or 5. It was mainly Tommy, Gabby, Christopher, and I as like the core group that I remember like playing video games with. Then mainly Chris and I would play like wall ball upstairs, or we'd play, running bases outside of Granddad's or manhunt, all those random things. And then Amanda and Kaya would get sprinkled in here and there, but they kind of did their own thing. So to me, like they were definitely involved in a lot of those things, but I remember hanging out with like Chris the most,
Yeah.
and then Gabby and Tommy and Chris.
There was an age difference, so it
Yeah.
was the natural separation.
And we were all so
Yeah.
young, so like we
Yeah.
would play like computer games and
Yeah.
Nintendo 64 and GameCube a
Yeah.
lot. That was when those things were coming out. Like we started with Nintendo 64, and
Yeah.
I remember we'd playing in Trish and Uncle Dave's upstairs room across from Chris's room.
Yep.
We'd be up there playing these old ass games that you'd look at them now and it's like they're blocky and shitty looking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pixelated.
Yeah, and then we started playing like Warcraft a lot with like Uncle Chris, and then the GameCube came out, so we'd play that a lot, and that was like what we'd do in the daytime, and then it felt like we'd play a lot of like manhunt and stuff at night. But like when we were playing video games like that, Amanda and Kai were in their room playing dolls or
Barbies.
some girly thing, and there was definitely like a split. Like we never mingled.
Yeah.
It's not like we ever were like, oh, let's go do that with them. It was like,
Right.
you guys
Well,
go do that, and
then,
we'll do this.
Then
Right.
Anthony was born.
And then Anthony was born, and he
Yeah.
kind of stayed with them.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he was really little.
He
Yeah,
was
he was.
little.
He
Yeah.
was because he's 6 years younger than me.
Yeah.
And we moved away from New Jersey when I was 11.
Well, so that is a good segue into right before you went into 5th grade, Dad, his job moved us down to South Florida.
So what's that, 11?
So
10, 11?
Yeah, 10, 11. And so Kaya was about to go into 1st grade. You were about to go into 5th grade. Do you remember how you felt when you found out we were leaving Sparta?
You
Yeah.
sure you want to know?
Yes. No. Full. Yeah.
I was
yes.
pissed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually do remember this. I was in the bath crying
Yeah.
because I was
Oh,
like,
really?
I'm going to leave all my friends. Like, what
Yeah.
is, I don't want to go anywhere else. Like, this is where our family is. This is where my friends are. But like, I was like 10.
Right.
So in my eyes, it's like, this is like my life. Like, why are we moving? And I didn't remember moving from Oregon to New Jersey.
Right.
And so that was like, we lived at that 8 West Cherry Tree Lane house.
Yeah.
We had our cousins around us. We
Yep.
had a schedule. It was comfy.
Yep.
Some real small town. Like there was no deviation. It was like fish on the weekends for fun, see our family, do
Yep.
sports, do school.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
So then it's like, and I never been to Florida, right? I
No.
mean, we really didn't like leave all that much. I feel like in New Jersey on some of the vacations, like once we
Yeah.
get down to Florida, I feel like we did more. But then I remember, I was in the bathroom and Dad came in and he was like, "Hey, when you turn 16, you'll thank me. You're not going to get it right now. You have no clue what I'm talking about, but you'll see. Like once you get a little bit older, you'll be happy that we're down there."
And did you understand when you turned 16?
Yeah. No, that I remember telling him actually in high school.
Yeah.
I was like, I think I've told him multiple times, like,
Yeah.
yeah, this
Yeah.
is definitely better than New Jersey, especially after going back to Sparta
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
and we visited once or twice. I'm like, Jesus,
Yeah.
thank God.
South Florida's pretty nice.
I'm like,
I'm
whoa.
dying. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. So then we get down there and I assume starting a new school, again, it's a Catholic school, it's a small school. I assume you were incredibly nervous, probably nauseous on the first day. How was that transition and that adjustment?
Yeah, I think that whole first year was like figuring it out. Because obviously there's a new school, right? I lost a lot of friends. So then I had to make friends. And what was helpful actually was you reached out to the secretary of the school in the summertime when we were moving down there. And I honestly, you're probably one of the only people that's ever done that ever and that'll ever do that again. But you got a list of all the kids that were in the class and then started cold calling the parents, trying to set up play dates. So I ended up
Yeah.
coming into 5th grade, knowing like 5 or 6 kids,
Mhm.
making friends with like 2 of them. And then that was at least like a safety blanket because I think a couple of them were in my class.
Yeah, well, I think because we did some play dates over the summer from cold calling, and one of the kids, they were a set of twins. So you knew the classes were split. You
Yep.
knew you'd get at least one twin.
Yeah.
So that at least you knew you had one friend going in. So that probably helped a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And some of those people I was friends with for a while, like Margot, we met her in the summer, and then we went to high school together, and we were friends up until graduated high school, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then last week you went to one of your friends' housewarming parties but you didn't really get to know Tommy until 6th grade, right?
Yeah. So the way it worked was you didn't switch classes a lot. You stayed I was in 5A, right, with Mrs. I forget her name.
And then other kids were in 5B.
Yeah. So there was I think it was 28 kids per class. And we would go to music and art and library, and then we had a typing class. And those are the only times we'd ever leave, in PE. Those are the only times we'd ever leave that classroom.
They taught typing back then?
Yeah, we had to put a cover over the keyboard and sit there. And we did
Wow.
type to learn. It
I
was
w-
awesome.
Great.
I wish
It was
they
one of
s-
my favorite
I think they
classes.
stopped that, right?
I don't know why kids don't have typing class anymore.
Yeah.
It's so
No, because I see
ironic.
Dylan do the,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
Kaya does a little bit too.
Yeah.
You don't
A lot-
do that? You know the QWERTY where your hands go and all that? Okay, cool.
But I've played a lot of computer games.
yeah.
So it's been needed.
Yeah. It's been
But
very helpful.
you know what's crazy is there's a lot of people my age that do that.
what,
That
the
do
two fingers?
the two fingers.
Oh yeah, it's painful. I'll be like, when I first started Granite, I'd sit behind someone while they're typing an email. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Put your goddamn fingers on the keyboard, man.
Yeah.
Like, why are you going like this, backspacing? And a lot of people don't know how to do Control C, Control V,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll do right click copy, right click
Yeah.
paste. But yeah, no, that was a good class. I'm glad we had that, because I couldn't imagine not knowing how to type.
Yeah.
Writing papers in college and high school. It's
could not imagine.
how are you going to sit there and go like this?
I
Yeah.
think that your generation, that last gen or the oldest Gen Zs, I bet you're the
I think it's
last
spotty.
ones, the last ones who had typing class.
I bet it's not even a guarantee.
So you don't even think everyone your age took
I'm
a
telling
typing
you.
class
No way.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I've sat behind people
that were your age.
older,
Oh wow.
28. I was 22 when I first started working, meeting people that are 25, 26, 27, 30 years old, fucking
Those are millennials.
typing
Yeah.
like this. It's like, that drives you crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a painful thing to watch.
I honestly think typing class should be reintroduced into the curriculum at every school. It makes zero sense to me with how kids are completely on computers now. It makes zero sense.
Well, now
So-
you just buy that program. It's like $150.
Well, I
and it
think
teaches you.
Yeah, I'm sure.
but
Yeah.
now I think you just say Siri or AI engine, type me a paper
Yeah,
and
oh,
include all this
gosh.
stuff,
Yeah,
right?
now we're
So-
entering into that world. Okay, so you spent middle school in Catholic school.
Well, no. Back to that. So,
Oh, okay.
The way it worked in 5th grade was we were all in that same class. So I only made really good friends, or I was around 30 of the 60 kids
Right.
besides lunchtime. And I probably made a couple friends through other people, right? From a birthday party. It'd be like, oh, this person from 5B is coming to the party. And
Right.
there was some mingling, but it
Mhm.
wasn't as forced, Something I honestly miss about school, and I'm jealous of Dylan, is you're just forced to be around people.
Yeah.
You make a lot of friends. You meet a lot of girls just from being in class.
Yeah.
So it makes it easy.
You mean
Um,
versus your life now as you're
Yeah.
as an
Being a
adult, your
young
work.
adult.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's just forced, right? Even in
Yeah.
college, if you went to class, a lot of people were just there real quick and went home.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, let's be friends now. We're in class together. It's like, I have a friend group. You're
Yeah.
my classmate. Adios.
It's so true. School gives you typically
Hadn't
gives
thought
you
of that.
automatic friends and gives you an automatic potential dating pool.
Oh, automatic.
Yeah, I never thought about that
Yeah.
before. That's interesting.
So then, yeah, I'd say by the end of 6th grade, right? Because then 6th grade rolled around, the classes switched. You had some people from 5th grade that in your class. You got some new kids that you knew about. They were just also in 5th
Mhm.
grade, and that's when I became really good friends with Tommy, because he was in that 6th grade class, and I think a couple other people that you guys would see at my birthday parties and whatnot.
Right.
So by the end of 6th grade, it was fully mingled in. I'd say getting through 5th grade was the nervous, jittery part.
Mhm.
But then after 6th grade, it was okay. I've met everybody,
Mhm.
and there's no surprises. It was the same 60 kids. So
Yeah.
there was a couple people that would come in, a couple of people that would leave, and then they'd go through it.
Yeah.
And I probably had a soft spot for those people because it's like, oh, I was just there last year.
Yeah.
Let me know if you need anything.
Well, because with a lot of those kids, especially in a small private school or in a Catholic school, they've been in school together since at least kindergarten, sometimes since preschool.
No,
So,
there were people in my class that had family friends from when they were like 2.
yeah.
And that always, like, I was kind of jealous of that a little bit because it was like I didn't know people like that.
Yeah.
I
You used to.
And I still don't know people like that. Like, I
Right.
have friends like Colin's one of my really good friends, and he has people he's been friends with since he was, 2 or 3, 4 years old.
Yeah.
And I don't have any really friend in my life now that is past like 15 years.
Right.
Mhm.
Colin's probably one of my oldest friends that I'm still friends with.
Mhm.
Yes.
Because we met when we moved.
We lived across the street from
In
him.
6th grade, we moved.
Yes.
Yep.
And that's when I became friends with him. And he's probably the only person from that time period that I'm still in at least constant contact
Yeah,
with.
yeah.
Like, obviously, I could, if I see some of these people at like church when we go,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we're out and about on like, the Ave or whatever,
Right.
I'll run into them. It's like, hey, what's up?
Right.
But I'm pretty sure he's probably my oldest friend at this
He's
point.
in your circle, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah.
Still.
He's your oldest friend. Yeah. If we had stayed in New Jersey.
But that's not that long, right? I'm 27.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm missing like almost a dozen years of friendships with people that there's definitely people like Tommy, for example, is still friends with people like people that were at his party last year or
Mhm.
last week that, he's been friends with them a lot longer. And it was good. I saw a lot of those same guys from that like 5th grade, 6th grade swing.
Yes.
And that was the first time I've seen him in a while.
That was probably cool. I think if we hadn't moved from New Jersey, you would have those friends.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. You would have those.
You're just
yeah.
forced. There's no
Yeah.
option.
Yes.
Especially in New Jersey.
It's a great way to look.
Because it's a small town.
You either go to
Yeah.
what? Sparta High or Pope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not like Boca High was bigger than both those schools combined.
Right. Right.
And down here, there's 6 high schools in Boca.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So no, in New Jersey, yeah, I'd probably still be friends with like Adam and Joey.
Right. And you
Who I-
remember their names. That's how close.
Yeah, we
that
all follow
bonding-
each other on Instagram, but like
Yeah.
I wouldn't consider them my friends.
Right. Right. Well, what you're talking about as far as your friends who have known people pretty much their whole life, Dylan will
Yeah,
go
Dylan
through.
has that.
Yeah.
Dylan has
Yeah.
friends he's known since he was 2.5.
Like when him and Chase hang out,
Yeah, they've known each other since they
Yeah.
were 5.
but they don't even go to school together anymore.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, Dylan's with Chase, and that's like to me, that's like, oh, I remember that. That's from like
Yes.
5 years ago.
Yeah. Or like Shane or
Yeah,
Luke.
yeah,
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 all
yeah,
those
yeah.
kids. So
No, I'd say he has more friends at his age now than I did.
right, because you were new.
And Kaya
And it
probably
took
is in
you-
between that. 'Cause
Yes.
She was younger.
Yeah.
Yes.
So she got to build it up a little better. Because if you think about it, I basically started new in middle school, and then that was 3 years, 4 years to make friends in that school. But then we all kind of separated.
Well, what's interesting, I was actually going to bring this up. First of all, being new in basically middle school, that's just a loaded statement because middle school is hard, even if you've known everyone since you were 2.5. Middle school sucks. I hate middle school as a parent, and I think most kids hate middle school. But
Yeah.
it sucks.
I don't remember like hating it, but if I think back, like those years were probably the most like annoying to deal with.
Yeah.
Compared to like high school was awesome.
Yeah.
Right. No, middle school's, ugh,
And elementary school was you're just a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing mattered, right? Everything was taken care of. It was
Yeah.
just, oh, we're having fun, we're doing sports, blah, 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 blah.
yeah, middle school's rough. It's when mean girls get real mean, and it's when alpha boys decide they want to be the alphaist of them all. And so everyone suffers. There's a lot of casualties there. Everyone suffers from subtle bullying, which is the worst bullying because adults don't catch on to it, teachers don't catch on to it. And as a parent, if you try to talk to another parent about their kid doing crap, those parents are like, what do you, they don't want to hear it. So you're just kind of stuck in this vortex of having to get your child through middle school to the next step. You're just getting through it so you can get them to high school. And that's whether you have a boy or a girl. Unless your kid is the mean girl or is the alphaist boy of them all of us anyone listening that's a parent knows what I'm talking about. So my next question to you though was, you entered into high school. Boca High is a huge high school. And you entered into high school coming from a small private school.
Mm-hmm.
And as you just said, most of the kids you knew in 8th grade scattered. So
I would say most of them went to Pope,
most of them went to Polk,
which was the Catholic high school
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Boca.
which was, that was the logical
And
step.
honestly, a lot of like my friends that I considered good friends in middle school went to Pope.
Right.
So it wasn't like people scattered,
Mm-hmm.
but the people I cared about and wanted to be friends with, or was friends with and wanted to stay friends with, a lot of them went to Pope. I didn't want to go to Pope, so it didn't really change anything for me in
Yeah.
terms of like wanting to go to Pope now.
Yeah, just to be clear, he could have gone to Pope. He
Yeah, no,
chose-
I'm
yeah.
thinking the same thing. All right, we totally failed this
Yeah,
guy.
No.
He wanted to go to public school.
That's funny.
Okay, so just to be clear, he was a Catholic school child his whole life. He wanted to go to public high school. Can you share what was your motivation to switching into a totally different environment?
I want to say it came down to, and this is so nerdy, but they only offered like a couple college level classes for
Yeah.
freshmen.
Yep.
Yes.
And it was like, you're basically on our track, right? You're on our runway here. This is what you're able to take. You really can't overachieve, right? And I was a pretty bright kid in middle school, and
Yeah.
I got really good grades in high school. I went to Florida State with 72 credit hours. I was a junior
Yeah.
before I even got to campus.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't have happened.
No, it wouldn't have.
If I went to Pope, I wouldn't have gotten a
Yeah.
double major
Yeah.
in 4 years.
No.
Just a little sidetrack. I think a lot of parents have there's a kid that's just smart, and ours happened to be our firstborn. And I tell people, I didn't realize Nathan is very, very brilliant. And I did not realize that until a parent came up to me. He was in second grade, and after school, a parent came up to me and said, "Oh my gosh, congratulations." And I was like, "For what?" And they're like, "Nathan won all-time reading for the class." And I'm like, "Oh, cool." And they're like, "And he won all-time math." And I'm like, "Oh, cool." And they're like, "And he won all-time English." He won every single subject. And I was like, that's when I came home and I said to Dad, "He's smart." And we had no idea. And so that's when we actually, up until then, we had no idea. And it's interesting being
I remember you'd get
Yeah.
stickers.
Yeah, you
And
got
my
like
thing
all
would
of
be
them.
full with stickers all
of
the
them.
time.
That's
And
funny.
he's the child who got the hundreds, who didn't really have to study. And he killed his ACT. So when he's talking about, and I'm not bragging because this had nothing to do with Brian or I, he was born this way. So so part of making that decision to which high school to go to, what you're saying makes sense. You wanted to continue to be academically challenged because that's where you were coming from mentally.
And and this is not to like shit on Pope at all. But I did like the fact that it was bigger. And honestly,
you mean Boca High?
No. Like Pope is smaller.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
you're dealing with less. It was way more close knit. It was safer. It was a safer option.
Yeah.
Right.
And honestly, I kind of skipped over it, but I got lucky with, and this probably influenced my decision when we moved in 6th grade to the house we rented for a while. It's like 5 blocks from where we are now. I met Colin and Tyler, and through them met a lot of kids from the public school system.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And what really helped was we had a park in our neighborhood 3 blocks down that a bus stop was at for Boca Middle, which is where a lot of people in Boca Middle, basically everyone in Boca Middle went to Boca High. They're
Mhm.
really close by. I think it's the same zone, same bus loop, all that. So every Friday after school, after St. Joan, I'd go down to the park with a couple people that I was friends with in the public school system and meet all their friends. And I'm talking like 50 kids at the park.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we would play football, basketball, just sit there and talk shit. You
Yeah.
know, that was
Yeah.
the first time I ever saw a kid who was like in 8th grade get drunk, like right after school. So, and that was like, I went from my cushy little
Yes.
Catholic
Yeah.
lifestyle to
Protected.
like, these kids are smoking weed and drinking and we're
Yeah.
14. Like,
Yeah,
what is
yeah.
this?
I'm going to Boca High.
Yeah.
I guess so. That's not how but it did help me because when I went to Boca High, like I already had, as much as my friends went from St. Joan to Pope, I knew a lot of people going to Boca
Yeah,
High
yeah.
still. So I kind of just switched friend groups. But there was a couple really good friends of mine from Boca High that also went to Pope, or a couple really good friends of mine from St. Joan that also went to Boca High. And I remember my freshman year, I'd say my first friend group was with a lot of those kids
Mhm.
from St. Joan. And then we picked up some stragglers that we would hang out with in 8th grade that weren't going to St. Joan, but were going to like St. Paul,
Yeah.
or, the various middle schools around Boca. And then we all knew we were going to Boca High. Like Dylan knew kids that he wasn't currently at school with, but were going to be at school with. And
Yeah.
there was a lot of the same of that. So
Yeah.
then it was, 3 or 4 different schools of us all hanging out the first freshman year of Boca High. And then obviously I started meeting people.
Would you say that transitioning into a public high school as a coming from a private school is much more challenging?
I don't know, because I think Boca High was a little unique. We were a really good school, right? It was one of the
Mhm.
best public schools in Florida. I think it still probably is.
Mhm.
Especially when our principal or director was there, we were
They were
like an
35th in the country, I think,
yeah, it was like
in
an
public
A
schools.
plus
Yeah.
plus school all
Yeah.
4 years I was there. So it was run really well. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't the like stereotype of, fights every day.
Yeah.
Oh, that
Like,
is not
no,
allowed.
that wasn't a
Yeah, it
thing.
still
It
isn't.
was business, right? Like I
Yeah.
took I took like 4 college classes my freshman year.
Yeah.
And so that honestly kept me away from the hooligans.
Yeah.
Because I had this little niche like STEM program that I was
Yes.
friends with, and met a lot of the kids that they're all come from good families.
Yeah.
They're all smart. They all knew that this was for college now, right? Like you guys drilled into me in 8th grade. You need to get good grades because this will be looked at, and I don't even know if that's true,
It
but
is.
this will be looked at
Yeah.
to go to whatever college you want to go to.
Yeah.
So that I had that mindset going into high school. It's like this matters now. Like I can't fuck up.
Well, part of that was you were taking 2 classes in 8th grade that were high school credit classes.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
those
Right,
math and something
probably
else.
English.
So those counted. That
The-
was part of that.
The one thing I would clarify too, it wasn't necessarily you have to get good grades. It's you have to do
So-
well so you have options.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it opens up the landscape of where you can what you
Choices.
can do. Choices.
Choices.
Yeah.
But so my experience in high school is definitely different than a lot of people's, and probably not a lot of my friends, because we're all pretty similarly like smart and driven. And I think a lot of the people I'm friends with now had that same mindset of, I'm not going to be a fuck up,
Mhm.
and I'm not just
Mhm.
going to like skate by and just
Right.
try to have fun. Obviously, I had a ton of fun in high school.
No, I
High
mean,
school was a lot of fun.
yeah, I mean, let's. So that was my next question. So although you were very academic minded, you also partied.
Well, not freshman year. Freshman year, I was pretty focused. Obviously, that was, that's when I had my first serious girlfriend, which took a lot of my time. And then, yeah, I was in a lot of really hard classes, and that was like it wasn't that hard. Like I got good grades all 4 years of high school,
Mhm.
but it was definitely a step up from middle school and from being in the like, this is the, these are the classes you're going to take. You have to take these. Right when I got to high school, I kind of had an option. And I remember I took a couple AP classes. I think my easiest class was probably like Spanish.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's just because I got taught Spanish for 5 years down here. But the rest of the classes were all AP, ACE, and I had to take these like college level tests. But so freshman year was definitely like still a young kid, still figuring it out. I think I switched friend groups like 2 or 3 times in between. I'd say from the start of freshman year to the end of sophomore year, I had a whole new group like every 9 months
Mhm.
probably. But
Was
then,
that would you say that's common? Because I think I'm seeing that again. It's sort of like high school. The freshman year of high school feels like a transitionary year.
well, you got to
at
think
Boca
about
High.
it, because so this is the big difference. Every class at Boca High, I had different kids in that class.
Yeah.
And again, we'll go back to you have to automatically become friends with these people, because this was the same group of people I was in class with. I had 7 periods.
Yeah.
I think I had 4 college level classes. So in those college level classes, they were mostly freshmen, but I did have some sophomores, juniors, and seniors. Like my AP human
yeah.
geography class was 3rd period.
Yeah.
I had like 5 seniors. And these kids are like going out on the weekends,
Yeah.
Yeah.
coming in hungover on Monday, like
Yeah.
talking all the shit. I'm like, what the heck? I'm going home and playing Xbox, or like
Yeah.
throwing the football or something. Like I'm still 14.
Yeah.
So that was a wild thing to then go from, was this tiny little middle
Yeah.
school to these kids are driving and going out on the weekends and like, having sex and all this shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Go to go back to the academic part. I remember might have been that geography class. I remember he needed help, and I started reading your book, and it's this book like this big, and it's college level
Like-
science, and I'm like, oh, you're on your own, buddy. It's just-
Yeah.
I don't think
this
either of
is-
you helped me out with math after,
That's what I'm
No.
saying.
8th
Yeah,
grade.
yeah.
I'd come home and be like, have questions, and you're both like, and there was
Yeah.
no chat GPT.
no.
No.
So you're both like,
We
like
hired-
you would study the book. You'd have to
Yeah.
go back and teach yourself
And
the
we're
lesson.
we're not stupid, but it was like,
I'm stupid
Whoa.
in math. But we ended up hiring a tutor a couple
Yeah.
times. Mr. Weiss helped you a little bit.
Yeah, I was like probably sophomore or junior year.
But
Yeah.
in general, you handled all of your academics pretty much
100%.
on your own.
I
I
had
was
high school figured out. I
Yeah.
never went to my locker. I never carried around textbooks.
yeah,
Yeah.
I did my 2nd period homework in 1st period. I did my 3rd period homework in 2nd period, and so on and so forth.
mhm.
And sometimes, like in my 7th period, I'd do the day's homework they got assigned real quick, so I could just go home and
Yeah.
then go out and
Yeah.
fuck around.
Be a kid.
Well, I think honestly,
High school was easy.
but there were some classes
sure.
you had to study and you had never studied before.
No.
And I remember you being frustrated because it's almost like you had to learn study habits for the first time.
And it's
you
too
had never
bad
had
because
to.
I didn't have any going into college.
Right.
And I got blindsided.
Yeah.
That got real.
I think that happens for kids where academics come naturally. And so they never learn study habits. And then you end up going somewhere, like if it hits you at the end of high school or in college, you actually have to learn study habits for the first time in your life.
Well, I'd say the biggest difference is in high school, you had a test like every couple weeks. So it was chapter 1's quiz is on Friday.
Yeah.
Okay. That's 15 pages of the textbook. I can memorize that real fast and smoke that.
Right.
Then you go to college. It's like, all right, class, we're going to have our test in November. It's August right now. So figure out how to retain 3 months of information.
Yeah.
And this is going to decide your grade. And it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you're cramming a whole semester of work like 10 days before the test, sitting there.
Yeah.
It was like a full-time job. Like, and that was the beauty of my major too, was this was so scheduled. Like I would go to class and learn whatever and write the papers and do these little quizzes. But then you really only had to be on like 2 times a semester.
Mhm.
Right.
All the tests would line up. But I did not, high school did not, that was not like that.
No, it wasn't. So then just to go back, you played baseball from the time you were 5 until when did you stop with baseball?
It was 14 or 15. I got kind of fucked.
Yeah, you did.
What made you, because you didn't play in high school, what made you decide to stop after 8th grade?
So we did the first league of that Boca Little League.
Yep.
Right. And we played at FAU Stadium. I remember that. We're the Phillies. It was hype. I got to pitch on their stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I remember that was a great season. That was probably my best season of baseball. That was 13, 14.
7th grade.
No. That was
no. At that point, you were 12. It was Little League. And
but like Connor was on my team, and we had maybe that was 8th grade.
Well,
because I came into high school and I knew some of my teammates at Boca High from the year before. I think it was 8th grade. So I was like 13, 14, like starting pitcher, pitching as much as my arm could let me, leading off, hitting. And then if I wasn't pitching, I was like dicking around in the outfield, which I hated.
Yep.
But it was like I was figuring out baseball, total asset to the team.
You also closed.
Yeah, I would pitch all the time.
Yeah.
And then the next season, that like league ended. And then my birthday was March 31st. So the cutoff made it so I had to play as a 14-year-old with 16-year-olds.
Yeah.
And like I was throwing like 40, 50 maybe and hitting 40, 50, and it was all fastballs. And all of a sudden these kids are throwing 50-mile-per-hour curveballs, 65-mile-per-hour fastballs, and there was no loading period. And so what happened was, because I was the smallest kid on the team, or youngest kid.
You could not be younger than you were in the league.
No, it was fucked.
You were the first day of the new year. Yeah.
So and you would drive me to practice. These kids were shaving and driving.
Yeah, I think that
and
tripped
then
you out.
I rode the bench the whole year, and I was like, "Fuck this! I don't want to play this anymore." And honestly, it burned me out on baseball. It's too bad because I was good, and getting better.
Yeah.
And then it just all fell apart, and I didn't want to do it anymore because that one season was like, "Hey, I'm good on this." Like these kids take it way serious, and it was a mental thing, right? They were older, been playing for longer, probably had a couple years of experience under their belt, and way more serious about it. Where I was still like kind of a kid.
Yeah.
And like, this was just the extracurricular. Like, I've been playing sports my whole life. This is what I do. You know, I didn't take it that serious. I didn't do travel.
Right.
Like, Dylan probably takes lacrosse a little bit more serious.
Right.
You guys take Dylan's lacrosse more serious than we took my baseball, and that's just how it was.
Right. Right.
But then you show up and you get in this league where you're the youngest kid, and honestly, it's just outclassed physically.
I remember there was one kid who was driving to practice. He was a baller,
and had a beard.
He was very serious.
He had a beard.
He had a beard, and it was like I know that tripped you out, and it was
my voice was still cracking.
You were pitching against him. He was going to hit a ball.
Yeah.
Well, you did get out there a few times. I remember watching, but
it was like bottom of the lineup, left bench.
Yeah. So
like, you having fun, Nate? Like, not really.
Yeah. Well, plus add on to it. This is South Florida.
Yeah.
We are a baseball state still, right? We're football and we're baseball and we're soccer. South Florida baseball is
every sport down here.
Yeah.
There's so many people and there's so many athletes.
Yeah.
You can practice any sport year round. If you want to get nasty, you can get nasty.
Yeah. So you ended up not playing baseball in high school.
No, I did stupid cross country.
You did cross country. You did cross country, I think, for 2 years, right?
A year and a half, and then I tweaked my back and I was done with that.
You were done with that.
And then I started partying.
Yeah.
I quit sports. I was like, I'm going to go drink and talk to girls. I'm done with this shit.
Yeah, so you
I didn't know that.
yeah, you would say you started partying what, like mid sophomore year?
Yeah.
Yeah,
As
yeah,
soon as, because it was so cross country was in the fall, then it was track, and I was pretty quick. I
yeah,
wasn't the
yeah.
fastest kid, but I was pretty quick. But it sucked. Like every day after school, all right, let's run 5 miles.
Yeah, I
Like,
know,
oh,
right?
great.
Yeah, yeah.
This
In the
is
heat.
awesome.
In South
No,
Florida.
so then sophomore year cross country rolled around, and I had a few friends on the team. We all felt the same way. So we'd do these off campus runs, and Whole Foods is right across the street from the track. So the coach would be like, go run your 4 miles. We'd walk over to Whole Foods, get pizza, sit on the bench, wait for our team to run by, and then hop in the back and
Oh
go back to
my
practice.
God.
And I'm like, God, get me out of this shit. This sucks. And then I think I had like tweaked something in my back, didn't do track,
Yeah.
and then never went back.
Yeah, you had a soft tissue injury on your back, and
Yeah.
then you didn't go back, and then you ended up having a lot of fun in high school, but still maintained your grades and everything. Had a long-term girlfriend, did the whole,
I think I
traditional.
was on honor roll every semester.
Yeah, yeah, did all that. And then it came time for college, and we did do a tour your sophomore year, and right from then you wanted FSU.
Yeah. I remember going to we drove by UCF, which I don't want to be too mean, but Orlando's the worst city in this country. And then we went to Gainesville, and Gainesville was just bland. Like the buildings were like white and gray, I think. Just looked very cookie cutter, spread out.
Well, we went to FSU first
Maybe that's what it was.
because I remember you're like, this is it. I don't want
Yeah.
to steal the
Because
thunder here.
FSU's like bricks.
Yeah.
It's
It
beautiful.
looks like a college. And when I didn't have, so I wasn't one of those kids that was like thinking about going to Harvard the whole 4 years. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't think about college until it was like, all right, we need to apply for college.
Yeah.
I didn't have a dream college I wanted to go to. I just knew it was just the gist was I have really good grades and I have extracurricular stuff. Like, I was volunteering, I had a bunch of service hours. I did sports for a little bit. So I knew that I would be able, and I worked a lot. Junior and senior year, I worked a lot. I worked like 3 to 4 days a week at
Was that at
Casa
Casa?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you worked a lot, and you did
Sunshine.
You did you did a lot of volunteer work with
Tons of volunteer work.
mentally and disabled
Yeah, the
children.
whole summer.
Yeah,
Well, you still do. It's
you
yeah.
still do that. But so yeah, you had a great resume.
But my whole thing was I never really cared about where I was going to go because I just knew I'd be able to go somewhere.
Right.
And there were kids in my grade that were like, I'm going to go to Cornell. I'm going to go to Harvard. They were smart kids, smarter than me. Like they cared. They didn't go out. I didn't see them at the parties.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, I'm going to go to college and get into a good school, but I'm still going to have friends and,
the balance.
do things.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was never a concern of mine. And then we went to Florida State and you see like, I remember watching Blue Mountain State when I was a kid, which is like this school about this show about this backup quarterback who just loves being the backup at a college because he just gets fucked up and he's just doing whatever in college. And I remember like seeing that campus, it's like the bricks.
Yeah.
And any movie you see
Mm-hmm.
is always this, very like historic looking
Yes.
campus. And then we went to Florida State and it's like this is it. I mean, you think about that fountain going into that Ruby Diamond Hall at the top of College Ave, and it's like, geez, this place is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went there and then hit Gainesville and UF on the way back, and then UCF, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm done looking.
I remember
They're like, do you want to go look anywhere else? Nah, let's just go there. That works.
It's
I
true.
remember we had a little tension because I was like, you got to at least go look at UF. And you were like, no. And we got there and it was like tense.
It was tense. I remember being in the gift shop, and
The
I
gift
think we
shop,
were
yeah.
all like kind of.
I mean, because you're
being
surrounded by
snippy.
blue and orange versus garnet and gold.
Yeah.
FSU's just so
Well,
much
you had
better.
made up your mind and you fell
You
in
had
love.
made up your
Yeah.
mind, and you did get into both, and you chose FSU.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing's funnier than the day I got into Florida State. There's two things, actually. It's hilarious. I remember I took the SAT, and the SAT is very writing focused. I don't like writing. I'm good at reading comprehension. I like reading. I read every night for about an hour and a half. I've been reading for about every night since probably fifth grade, right? I think I've read Harry Potter like 7 times, and I read it for the first time in like 4th or 5th grade. We used to go get the books probably even earlier, honestly.
We would
You've
go.
read more books in your life than I've read in mine.
Easily.
Yeah.
I read like 30 books last year. I've already read 5 this year. It's the 10th or something
Wow.
stupid. I think I'm on my 4th book,
That's
and
great.
it's the 10th.
Well, and kids your age, actually your age and maybe a little older will remember those midnight releases of the Harry Potter books. And we would go to the local bookstore in Sparta.
The Green Bean or whatever.
Or what was the Sparta bookstore next to Greens
Next
Beans?
to Greens Beans.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
And we'd all be waiting in line, and you guys would dress up a little bit, or some kids would dress up. But I'm sure
That was
that's
second grade, third grade.
yeah, I'm sure it's a shared experience. I'm sure there's many kids your age that remember actually the release of the next Harry Potter book. And yes, you were reading those at that age.
Yeah.
You were.
But
Yeah.
so I took the SAT and we did like pre-SAT stuff. I didn't do tutoring at all. A lot of kids did tutoring. Like my girlfriend at the time tutored every week for the SAT just to be get better at test taking. I'm a good test taker. I like tests.
Yeah.
I don't like writing. I hate writing. I would get bad grades on writing, and you give me a test, I'll study, fine. So I remember I took the SAT and walked out of it like, damn, that didn't go well. And I didn't even get that bad of a grade, but
Yeah.
I got a grade where I had to work on it.
Yeah.
And then I took the ACT, and I remember walking out of that bitch like, I just smoked that test. That
Yeah.
thing, that was so easy.
And you did.
And she's like, we got my SAT score before my ACT score, because it takes a little bit to get it. I got like a bad grade on the SAT, and she's like, let's get you in tutoring. Let's do this. I'll sign you up. We'll get you the whole test book. It'll take a couple hours, but like, we'll get you there. And I'm like, you need to relax. It'll be okay. I have a good grade coming. Don't worry about it. She's like, no. I'm like, just wait. I'll do tutoring if my ACT score isn't as good as I think it is. And then the ACT score comes out, and it was like it was like on the upper end of what you needed to get into Florida
Way
State.
upper end.
It was like a 29. And then I took it again and super scored. It's like a 31.
Yes.
And I was just like, yeah, no tutoring. I'm good. I took the test twice, and that was it.
Yeah. We were done. No.
And I never took the SAT again. I was like, I'm sticking to this test.
Yeah.
That's not my thing.
And that happens. Like, I know your sister, the SAT was better for her.
Yeah, my
so-
girlfriend at the time only did the SAT. She took the ACT once and was like, that sucked. I'm never going to get good at that. Because that's way more like problem solving. I think like more math and science focused.
Yeah. So you chose Florida State. And
Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to
the
say.
day you found out.
So my whole life, and it's still an issue I have now, I hate waking up. And also I stay up way too late, right? Middle school and high school, I was probably up till 1 a.m. every night, even though I was waking up at like 7. And I'd wake up to toast made and my shower on and hot.
Oh, God.
Hot water going. So, because she knew.
Your brother's in the same boat.
Well, she knew, because I'd wake up and be, leave me alone. She's like, the shower's on. We're wasting water. Get in there. And then she'd throw my ass in there, and it'd be like hot already.
Yeah.
And that just wakes you up. I think that's why I shower every morning before I go to work.
Well, I would hope that's one of the reasons you shower.
Well, no, a lot of my friends shower at night
Oh.
and don't shower in the morning.
I shower in the morning.
I can't wake
Yeah.
up unless I shower.
Yeah.
Totally.
Like, that's like my cup of coffee is hopping in a shower.
Yeah.
So I remember this was probably senior year, right?
Yeah. No, senior year, and it would have been like
Fall. It was November. I remember I had a whole semester after I found out to just fuck around, because I knew I was getting into college. So she wakes me up. She's like, come on, the results are here. The results are here. Like, open the thing. I'm like, I got in. Leave me alone. Let me sleep. I want to go back to bed.
So you're saying the envelope from FSU came in.
early
decision.
The
early admission.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she's like, open it up. Let's see if you got in. And this was like 15 minutes before my shower was supposed to be taking place. I'm like, whoa, it's just 7:15. Leave me alone. I'll open it when I'm like, I got in. Don't worry about it. And she hands me the envelope. I open it up. I'm like, yeah, see, I got in. Let me go back to bed.
It was so uneventful. And now kids get these emails with all these like confetti and everything, but you got a nice envelope with a beautiful letter, and it was so uneventful. He's like, yeah, I got in. So
I'm like, can you close the door, please?
Yeah.
Turn the light off.
Yeah.
I'm going to fuck around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that semester was awesome. We had so many people that got those early admissions. And then, I still got really good grades. And the issue was my senior year of high school, I had 8 college classes.
Yeah.
And I only had 6 classes. Or I had 7 college classes. But the way it worked at Boca High was the older you got, you could drop a class. So freshman year, you had 7. Sophomore year, you had 7. Then junior year, you could leave a period early. So then we were getting out after 6th period instead of 7th period. And I think you could have done 5th period senior year, but being the nerd I was, I just took another class.
Yeah.
And then, but one of those classes was a double block. So it was microeconomics in the fall semester, winter. And then like US government or something.
Yes.
Some government or like political course in the second semester. So I had 7 AP classes
Mhm.
And I still had to like dial back in to make sure I passed those to go like to get those credits so I didn't just waste those classes.
Mhm.
So like there was a lot of us that knew we were going to school, didn't have any worries. There were still a lot of people like taking the ACT, SAT, trying to
Yeah.
rush this shit in. And for those that, you know, knew we were good and going to school, it was like, all right,
Yeah.
we can hang out after school now. Like go
Yeah.
out we were going out every Friday and Saturday. You know, I was still working a lot, but
Mhm.
it was go mode because everyone was leaving. And we all, you know, we were all getting older and looking older. A lot of us had fake IDs. And I remember that was a really fun semester
Yeah.
because there was no worries. It was like, all right, we
Yeah,
did
yeah,
it.
yeah.
You did it like 4 months ahead of time, and you still had to graduate, but that wasn't an
Yeah.
issue for me. Like that was automatic.
The hard work's done.
It's
Yeah.
maintaining. It's what I've told
Yeah.
Dylan is that
It was like, don't fuck up.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've told Dylan, you put in the work freshman, sophomore, junior year to get into college, and then you just maintain senior
Yeah.
year. Senior year should not be where you're still trying to work to get into school.
No, the resume was
if you want to
there.
set yourself up.
The resume was there.
Yeah,
It
it's
was like,
done.
just continue. Like,
Yeah.
don't do it. Like, don't get a DUI. Don't get
Yeah.
arrested.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't do something dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Stay out of
Don't
jail.
get a girl pregnant.
100%. It was
Yeah.
like, just don't do anything too dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you did at FSU, everyone typically does the summer session. So you headed up to Tally. This was our first child that we took to college. So I remember that was an interesting year for us because you were graduating high school. Kaya was graduating 8th grade. So she was graduating from Catholic school, and our youngest was graduating kindergarten. So we had 3 graduations that time. It was a very one of those things would be emotional for a mother. I had 3,
That
and
was a fun year.
it was a great year, but I remember suppressing my emotions during that last month or so because I knew if I started crying over any of these things, I wouldn't stop. And I remember when we dropped you off at DeGraff
Right by
dorm.
that McDonald's.
We got you all set up at DeGraff, and I remember I grabbed, when we checked out of the hotel, I grabbed a box of Kleenex before we dropped him off. We took him to breakfast. We dropped him off. I remember looking in the side mirror and just watching you walk. I can still see it walk away from us into DeGraff. And I remember, and I'm sure you do, I opened that box and I cried. Tally to where we live is
5.5, 6 hours.
with the way that Brian
Well,
drives, like
I think you
6
stopped
hours.
crying. You finally settled down around Gainesville and Ocala, which is about an hour and a half to 2 hours
2.5,
away.
2 hours.
Yeah.
I don't know. I felt like it was all the way to Orlando before I calmed down, but it could be. I just remember I started crying and I didn't stop for a really long time. And I remember Kaya and Dylan were in the back and just everyone was silent. Everyone let me have my moment, but I had waited because I wanted you guys to have each of your moments to be positive and happy and not about my sadness. So I waited until I could just do it where everyone had their moment and now it's mine. And I thought I cried till Orlando, but maybe not. But then the second time we dropped you off in the fall,
tuned you out at about Lake City.
You got off I-10. You're like, holy fuck.
I'm like,
everyone was dead quiet. But then I always tell people the first time's the hardest. The second time was when we brought you back in the fall, and I didn't cry as much. I cried for a bit, and then I just ate.
Oh, that's right, because I didn't have a car.
Yeah, so we had to
you
bring
guys
you
were
up.
bringing me up, right? Because summer was 6 weeks.
Yes. So then you came home for a while for August. We brought you up, and I cried for a bit, and then I ate a pie when we got home. And
well,
that was
but by
how I
then
felt.
too, that's after summer.
Yeah.
Everyone's fear was gone, and probably mostly yours too, right? You're like, I'm ready to get back. I'm not scared.
Yeah.
There's no nerves because I got this shit.
I don't remember having much nerves going into college.
He had no nerves.
I was ready.
He was so ready. Yeah. You had a great time in college.
But I also knew a good amount of people going up, and I had a really good summer. I met a lot of people. Like I met Masons in the summer, and then I got the summer bid to my frat, which would have been the nerves would have rushed.
Yeah.
But I hung around that frat long enough and just integrated myself with those people. It just kind of worked. I didn't even mean for that to happen.
Yeah.
A lot of the kids from Boca go up to Phi Delt, and a lot of my friends went into Phi Delt, and I was around there a little bit, but I didn't really want to just be in the same fraternity with all the people I just grew up with. And there were some people that obviously went different ways, but I remember I met Mason, and then he introduced me to a lot of the kids in the frat I joined. So then it was like every day, him and I would hit the gym together every day, play racquetball, and then go to the frat house. I wasn't even in the frat yet. And then by like the 4th week of the summer, one of my really good friends, Pierce, who I'm still really good friends with, him and another guy who I had eventually lived with offered me the summer bid. And then it was like, well, now I'm good. I don't have to do rush. I'm just going to go up. I already have this bid. I just have to show up and I'm good. If I didn't get that summer bid, I probably would have been like, fuck, I got to go through this.
So would you say that summer session, if you're interested in Greek life, and if your college has a summer session, utilize that to network?
Even if you're not trying to join a frat or sorority, you should 100% go do the summer C or summer B session. In Florida, it's called summer B or summer C. I think UF's is summer B or summer A. Florida State is summer C or summer B. Because there's a summer A is all 12 weeks. It's like a full term.
That's right.
Then there's the first 6 weeks, the second 6 week,
Yeah.
6 weeks. The way the freshman works is you come in on the second 6 weeks, which includes July 4th. July 4th is like the first weekend or second weekend up there. So you're moving into college and all of a sudden it's the 4th of July. And that's one of the biggest days at Tallahassee. But so I would definitely encourage you to do that because A, you learn where the buildings are and you kind of figure out, you know, your day to day of like, where am I going to eat? How to do laundry in the dorm where you have to put quarters in or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I was spoiled. I got fed. I never did my own laundry and I didn't really clean.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I have all these things that are now my responsibility and I still suck at, but I had to figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was a good 6 weeks because the way the summer session works is I took one class was a joke. It was like computer studies. And as long as you memorize the little test sheet he gave you, you walk in and get 100. And it was these like classes that were like smushed into a 6 week schedule.
It's a condensed schedule. Yeah.
And you just whip through it real quick.
Yeah.
They're really easy. Like it was so easy. I got my English class out of the way, never did English again. And I hated that class. It was again, writing.
Well, we should say you entered in with so many credits. You were officially a junior. So there were some prereqs you didn't even have to take.
Yeah. I took one math class. I took one science class. I took one English class my whole 4 years of college.
Right. Because of that.
Thank God. Because those classes, college algebra smoked me and I'm good at math. It is so much harder when you're not in like a 30-person class learning, when you don't have like attention from the teacher.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to worry about all that. And I used that summer session to get rid of English. But no, I would encourage that 100% because I met some people, right? It worked out for me probably better than a lot of people. Just because I did get that bid and I automatically came up like knowing this is the frat I was going to rush and associate myself with. And it helped me out during rush because I came in being the kid who was hanging out with them and partying with them all summer. Like we would go out a lot with those kids. And whenever they'd get a table or have like a bus come to pick them up and like do all this stuff, me, my girlfriend and her roommate were all invited. So we just had this, like, I came up with like a system in place already. So it worked out really well for me, but even if that didn't happen, it still would have gotten me somewhat acclimated to living on my own.
So what would you say?
Without a lot of pressure.
Right, right. So what did Greek life and your frat give you, would you say? In the moment and also still?
So for me, a lot. And it's one of those things where you can make a lot of it, right? There was people like myself and my friend group who were around the house all the time, involved in the pledge process, involved in, like, I was on the pledge committee rushing kids every year. I was in the interview room, interviewing these new kids, these freshmen, to see if they were cool or not. So I got to vet out, that was one thing I did a lot. I got to vet out these new people, and I had a lot of final says on if these people could get in or not with, other people. But so, for me, I was always around it. That became like my social life. I didn't really hang out with a lot of people, even people I was friends with from high school or from Boca. I didn't see them a lot because it was like, I'm just going to chill with my frat. But for me, it gave me that, right? It gave me a friend group that I'm still really good friends with to this day. It gave me a job. By sophomore year, I was DJing for my fraternity, and that helped me DJ everywhere else. So that was great. That was like basically a recommendation to everyone else in Tallahassee. Like, this is our DJ. He does this all the time. Like, it gave me a resume.
Yeah.
So that was nice. And then junior and senior year, mainly senior year, I was the pledge educator. So that was the first time I was ever in charge of people, ever. It was like, I was like a manager of 60 kids, right? I had to keep them on track, made sure they weren't failing out of school, made sure they were learning the history of our fraternity, made sure they weren't fucking around, making sure they were learning how to carry themselves correctly and not being weird towards girls and not being like a jackass at the bar. And that was the first time I've ever, probably the only time still, where I've ever been like a manager of someone.
It's almost sounds like you were mentoring those kids in a sense.
Yeah, that's probably a little like too polite of a way to put it. They were
Way
definitely
too professional term.
they liked me, but there's definitely like a factor of like this kid could totally
Yeah.
flip my life upside down if I don't, respect him and listen to what he's saying.
Yeah.
So it was an easy situation because it's like I was their guy. They'd confide to me. Like I remember one kid came up to me my first year doing pledge educator, and he's like, "Man, Brother Barker." They always cut. We most fraternities, ours included, would if as a pledge you had to say like brother last name or brother whatever. And certain people would other things. I hated it. I never made them call me that. I always got mad at them if they'd call me that. I was like, dude, just call me Nate.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to hear you ever say brother Nate, brother Barker. Like that shit's weird. You have to do that with everybody else unless they tell you otherwise. But please do not call me that. It just felt awkward. It's like some of them are my age.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna look down on
peers.
you. Like I'm no better than you. You just happen to not be a brother yet. You're just a pledge.
Right.
And so I remember this one kid came up to me at the end of my first semester doing that. And he's like, Brother Barker, man, I just can't do this anymore. Like I'm losing my mind. Like, what do I do? And they were getting initiated the next day. And I was like, listen, pal, you need to nut up. Like you got one more day. I'm like, you cannot tell anybody this, but just listen to me. I was like, you have one more day and you get initiated tomorrow. He's like, are you fucking with me? I'm like, I'm being 100% serious. If I find out you tell them, I will kick you out. So like you got to hold on. And he was like, all right, thank you. And then the next day, so it was like, that was the first time I ever had to deal with anything like that, where it's like, I'm like responsible for this kid's well-being.
Yeah.
And so I would say like back to your question, it taught me a lot. Obviously it gave me this really good friend group, and you guys have met most of them.
Yes.
A lot of good guys.
And I think both Ben and Abdel have talked about this on the previous episodes. We have a group chat of like 22 people that talks every day.
Yeah.
I'll probably get off recording this, and I guarantee you there's a message in that group chat about something.
Yeah.
And that started with Pierce, Ben, and I when we used to go to music festivals sophomore year. It was the three of us. And then as time went on, and honestly, as people got initiated, right? Like Ben and I were the first. Ben, Abe, Abdel, and I, and Mac were all in the same pledge class. So we were all in the fraternity. Pierce was there. He's a couple years older than us. But then shortly after that, like Jesus, Quentin, and Ali were all in the same pledge class, and they came in.
So those guys were behind you?
Yeah.
Abdel,
No. Abdel, Abe, Mac, and Ben were all my pledge brothers. Fall 2019.
Yeah.
So then like that was like the first stage. And then as each pledge class came in, we'd be very involved because a lot of my friends were similar to me. We'd be around the house every day, because there's people who get initiated and you never see them again until there's a party.
That's really interesting.
And they'll come because there's free booze and girls.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's cool. If that's what you want to do. Like that's what a lot of people join this shit for. And then they have friend groups that they hang out with.
Right.
But for us, it was like, why not make the most of this?
Yeah.
Everyone here we like. And we also had a huge pledge class of like 55 people or whatever, 49. So you just instantly had this friendship and this group to hang out with. And I never really looked past that. It was like, hey, I like a lot of these people. And we hung out every day.
Yeah.
Literally every day. Either at my place or Abe's place or someone's apartment.
Yeah.
It was every day. And there's even more people. Like it was a bigger group. Obviously it's gotten reduced over time. But so like that group chat started with 3 people. And then as these pledge classes came in, it was mainly like we were going to music festivals and doing this. And then eventually after Pierce, Ben, and I went to like 5 or 10 of these things, some of the other people were like, well, shit, this looks fun. I want to come.
Yeah.
And then they'd start coming with us, and then they'd get added to the group chat. And then a new pledge class would get initiated, like Ali and Quentin and Jesus. And then it was like, well, we like them too. Let's get them in the group chat.
Yeah.
And I think the last one that got added was probably Evan McKenna, because he was the class I was in charge of.
Right.
I know he was the last addition to our chat.
And
now it's like 20 strong.
So you've mentioned a few times, you've said music festival, and my memories of those years, once you, I don't know if this started during high school. I feel like it started when you got into college.
High school.
End of high school?
Yeah, think about it. Junior year, I went to Ultra.
Ultra. So that would have been the beginning, right? Ultra. So music festivals were a constant in your life from 16 probably until just a couple years ago, right?
I mean, I just went to Bass Nectar
Well, you
for
just went
3
to Bass
nights
Nectar,
last
but I
week.
mean on a regular basis. But yes.
No, I went to a music festival in April with Corey.
Oh, true. So there's still.
I went to
there's still-
Sewanee.
Yes. So music festivals entered your life when you were 16. As you already know.
It's reduced, but it's
Right,
still a
right.
thing. I mean, if another really good festival pops up in the area, I'll probably look
You'll
into
go.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I kind of equate that. Our listeners probably don't know, but or they may if they've listened to past episodes. But Brian and I are deadheads, and we have been deadheads since we were 16 years old, 15, 16, where we started seeing them live. And are still, and just like how Nathan said, if a music festival comes around, he's going. If there's typically anything high quality dead related, we go still, and we're 53.
It's just
So,
music in general.
it's
It's
music
not
in
even
general.
specific to music festivals.
Yeah.
And that's why I think my friend group and I are still such good friends.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Is do you feel that
Is that the thread?
the common bond that really has held you guys together was music?
Yeah. So, like, obviously, I was our DJ for a while. Now my buddy Alec, his DJ name is Illo. Super fire. Definitely check him out if you haven't.
Just drop the bomb there. He is fire.
Incredible.
People should
He's
check
great.
him out.
Yep.
He's
for
incredible.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
he's kind of carried the torch now, and he's gotten way better than I ever was. It's been awesome to see. But so, like, that was always a thing. You know, a lot of what we did in college, and this is why I have a lot of my friends, is, you know, I would DJ at the bars and whatnot, but a lot of what I did was DJing after we go out, like the 2 a.m. to 3 a.m., like late night after party stuff.
Yeah.
And so we do it a lot at Kappa Sigma because that was the best speaker system in the world. We had this like just super, way too obnoxiously loud bass from a JBL bass from Guitar Center. And we had no business having that setup. It's still to this day one of my favorite places to DJ.
How did you get that? Did you guys
It was
talk Gabe
there.
into
No,
buying it?
it was all there.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, that's a different story if we want to talk about how I even got into DJing, but that was already there. So like we do that a lot at Kappa Sig, but then junior year we met a lot of these. We had some friends from Atlanta, and a lot of the kids that he was friends with in Atlanta went to another fraternity. And you guys have heard me mention these people like Gage and Cole.
Yeah.
So they were in a different fraternity. They lived at an off-campus house with also a really good speaker system. And they had a 6-person house, and everyone in there didn't care if we DJ'd or not. So the whole thing was like, even if we wouldn't go out, like senior year, I barely went out senior year. It was just like, yo, let's go DJ somewhere and let's just invite people and get, you know, booze or whatever. And so like, that was a lot of what our friend group did, was like, all right, where are we going to go party? We would just kind of make our own little parties and just do our thing. Cause like either I was DJing or Gage was DJing or our buddy Finn was DJing. We were just friends we kind of created this like DJ friend group to where there was always someone willing to DJ regardless of the hour. And then it was, let's invite as many people as we want. And people would always come. If you're playing music and there's, you know, booze and people talking, like you can easily get people to get behind that.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of what our friend group did, was, you know, either party at the house just on our own, or like I'd skip happy hour, invite 10 people over, and they could invite whoever they wanted. We all just sit in the backyard and I would just play music and we dick around, you know?
Yeah.
And that's how our friend group kind of functioned.
And then you guys would go to different festivals like Okeechobee. You went to Ultra.
Yep.
Bass Nectar New Year's Eve.
Yep.
And others that you saw Charles the First.
Yeah.
You traveled. You guys would travel.
Oh, yeah.
You're going in March to see somebody in March.
Yeah, I'm going to see Grammatic and the Red Rocks.
Right.
I'm going to Tampa in February to see this dude Of the Trees with Cole and Gage.
Yeah.
So all these people I just mentioned, I still hang out with. But like I'll hang out with them without music, but a lot of it's like, hey, this guy's coming to Tampa.
Yeah.
You should come out. It'd be nice to see you, and we can go to this concert.
Well,
Yeah.
all of you guys are actually working and professional now.
Yeah.
Different cities, so makes sense. That's the common bond.
We kind of wait for a good concert to pop up and then get as many people as they can to jump on it.
And then additionally, because of being our son, I think the Grateful Dead has been a part of your life literally since you were born. And so you are also a Deadhead.
Yep.
So you have these two worlds in a way of you're very much into this one type of music, heavy bass or however you would describe it. And then you're also very much into jam bands and the Grateful Dead and that life, I would say. And so I think it's really interesting. And I think your life is very consumed with music.
It's literally, yeah, it's all I do.
Yeah.
Like, I always listen to music.
You're right.
I don't understand how people either don't like it or like my buddy at work just doesn't have an aux cord. He just listens to the radio. I'm like, you're fucking out of your mind.
Right. Right.
My commute's 10 minutes and I'm like, all right, what am I going to listen to?
You know, it's funny if we're in the car, the first thing he does is touches the radio.
Yeah.
I can be in the car and silent. He's been like, how do you do this? And for me, it's like, I just want silence. I want peace.
Yeah.
And he's dialed in.
Well, he hasn't been
I
a
go to the
parent yet.
beach and bring my speaker.
Yeah.
Then when I
Yeah.
take a shower from the beach, I bring my speaker into the bathroom.
Right.
And then I'll listen to my music until I like hop on Xbox or leave the
That's
house.
hilarious.
Like
So
it's just always on.
So another aspect of that is, and I've told people that you and Kaya weren't necessarily close when you were growing up. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, you guys had different personalities. You were very compliant, easygoing, and she was very strong-headed, strong-willed, and a little more loud as a young child. And then you
She's
guys,
crazy.
and then you guys came to this union that I think
It
was
was
music.
bonded over music. Yeah.
It was bonded over music. You took her to Ultra, and she actually had to get a fake ID to prove she was 16 to go to Ultra with you. And from those music festivals, from that very start, she was 15. I think that's what was the bridge to form that you guys are basically best friends now, and you continue to see music together.
So I can tie this into why I'm friends with my friends and why my friends are friends with me, why we're all friends with each other. When you go to a multiple day music festival, it's not real life, right? You go out to Okeechobee, and by the end of it, we would all rent an RV. So my buddy, my best friend in college, Abe, had an RV. We'd pack like 4 or 5 people into it. First year, we were the only ones with the RV. Maybe someone rented an RV with like a different group. But by the end of it, I think the last Okeechobee we went to, which was after we graduated, so we're all fully paid jobs, not living near each other anymore. We had 3 or 4 RVs. So we're living the high life at Okeechobee. Awesome. Yeah. But my point is, when you get out there, we'd go for 4 days, right? You don't really use your phone. It's not like you can go to a store and get like what you need. You shop ahead of time, and whatever you bring, that's what you have. So then you're kind of on your own. And that's like, it's borderline like Survivor, like that show Survivor. It's like you're out there for 4 days, and the objective is to see the music you want to see and have fun, right. But also like you still need to eat, you still need to drink water, you still need to clean yourself and brush your teeth and all that. Like it's not like you just go like into a wild animal, like you still got to function,
right?
But it's way more bare bones. Like there's no showering, you don't have a bed, so it's an uncomfortable 4 days while you're still doing what you want. And like that's when I feel like we all got really close, is when we'd go through those experiences together and like turn into that like almost like a clan of individuals going through this and like helping each other out. It's like you'd ask your friend for a favor, and I don't know, it feels like when you're at a music festival, like you help each other out more. Like you're way more understanding of like, what do you need? I'll go get it done for you.
Right.
And like that'd be times where like I'd go to the bathroom and my friends would look after Kaya, or some of the girlfriends at the time they'd go to the bathroom with Kaya.
Right.
And that's just one example with her, but it's like you really bond over that, and it comes into like a team effort to like, all right, let's have a really good time, but like all be very responsible for like each other. And you come out of that weekend like, damn, like I really fuck with these people.
Right.
Because you just had a great time and there was no issues. But we did that like 20 times throughout college.
Yeah.
Right.
So every time it was like, we know what we're doing. Let's go have fun. We're going to go see this. Like we had a system where it was like, everyone was on the same plan. Everyone was on the agenda, and we just did it. And I think we had more fun than most groups that would go to music festivals, just because we were all so like, just about whatever happened. Like no one really, if there was an inconvenience, it wouldn't end the trip.
Just
right?
dealt with it.
Yeah. It was just keep on rolling, whatever.
It was a roll.
And so when your sister was a part of it, you two together as siblings had to also figure out that weekend together.
Yeah.
And so
that's when her and I became close.
Every time you guys had those experiences, you got a little bit more closer, a little bit more closer. And then of course she got older and all that. So I've always cherished that about your relationship.
Well, she handled herself well. She wasn't a nuisance to deal with. That's why she kept getting invited back. It wasn't like, she was a lot younger than me, but it wasn't like stressful to have to worry about her.
Right. And I'm hoping that once Dylan is older, he also will be able to have that experience with you guys. So okay. So that brings us to, you graduate FSU.
All right. So if we go back a second, you'd mentioned you're doing your DJing, or you got into DJing. How did you get into that? I vaguely remember, but where did that start? Where did that come from?
So freshman year, I was the pledge the fall semester and had no say in what happened. Right. I honestly,
like the music scene,
I couldn't even tell you what was going on, because my life was so stressful, worrying about moving ice around and refill. Like because at parties, the pledges would do shifts of bartending, make sure the ice was there. We'd have to go get extra booze because we had like a liquor closet. So that was like not even I couldn't tell you what was
clean the frat house after a
that
party.
was after, but even during the party, like I don't know. I couldn't tell you what was happening. That shit was so blurry, just getting through that pledge ship.
Yeah.
But then I remember when I came back after Christmas break, and I was a brother, we started having like we'd have the parties that we were always having, but I was paying more attention to like what was going on. And for a little bit, one of our brothers was like a janky little DJ and would like try to spin,
Mm-hmm.
but it was like real bush league stuff, not committed to it, which is fine. Like it takes some time,
Mm-hmm.
and it was nice that he was like willing to try it. Like it was like this tiny little thing. But for the most part, we would use those nice ass JBLs we had, rig it to an aux cord, and then
Mhm.
someone would sit there with their iPhone and shuffle
Yeah,
a
yeah.
playlist.
Yeah.
So the issue with that is when everyone gets drunk, everyone's a dickhead and comes up and unplugs it and replugs it and unplugs it and replugs it and wants their
Yeah.
music on it.
Yeah.
So all you hear is popping and popping and popping, and they're like almost blowing out the speakers.
Yeah.
And I remember towards the end of that semester being like, this is not it. Like there has to be a better alternative here. Like we need to figure out a way to like make it so one person controls this and just DJs. And this isn't, because it'd be like a country song would be on, someone would get angry,
Yeah, yeah.
yank it, blow everyone's ears,
Throw
and then throw on
AC/DC
like a
on or
rap song,
Yeah.
and it'd be like the middle of the song, and it's just like there's no flow. So I remember I went home and I asked you, because I think that summer I just worked. I didn't go back up to school.
Mhm.
So I was home, and I remember being like, "You got to buy me a DJ board." Or, you know, I probably asked you in a nicer way, but
Yeah,
it was like I want to figure this out. I want to
Yeah.
be the one that does this, because no one else was taking initiative. And it's not like I told anybody in my frat like, "Hey, I'm gonna go learn how to DJ."
Right.
It was like I just knew, I identified that was an issue, and if
Yeah.
we wanted to be like better and have better parties,
Yeah.
we needed to figure out music. And I think that was probably talked about, but it wasn't like, it's not like, because we had meetings.
Nobody acted on
We
it.
had meetings every Sunday amongst the whole fraternity in the frat house, like, and we'd talk about suggestions, yada yada yada. That was never like it wasn't like someone was like, "All right, I'll do it."
Yeah.
So I remember I left and I was like, I'll try it. I'll take a swing at it. Then you bought me that tractor board. I remember I spent the whole summer downloading music and figuring it out. And I didn't look up any videos. I didn't know anyone who DJ'd at the time, so I didn't have anyone to ask for help. I just sat there and played basically pots and pans ass transitions, giving myself headaches, trying to figure out what did what and all this. And then I came back in the fall and I was like, all right, we're done. This is a new look. I'm going to DJ. Like, give me a semester to figure it out. It's going to suck.
Yeah.
But just bear with me, and this will be a lot better for us in the long run. And everyone's like, no one had any objections. Everyone honestly thought it was pretty cool for the most part.
Is it something that you present at like a meeting?
No, I just kind of told everyone like this. I think this is what we should do.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't
no,
like
there was no objection.
voting or anything.
No.
Okay.
It was just like, because I moved in that year with my 3 roommates who honestly I like really fuck with. I'm really glad I moved in with those people. It was you know, Josh, Debo, and Mason, and then eventually Mason became the president and Nick moved in.
Were you in the frat house then, or
No.
that
I was
wasn't until
Eclipse.
senior?
I was
okay,
Eclipse.
Eclipse. That's right.
My first apartment.
Yeah, the
This
blue
is sophomore
place.
year.
Sophomore year.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
remember I came back, said, and they were all older than me. Like
Yeah.
Debo gave me my summer bid as a freshman.
Okay.
That was his senior year. And you met his dad at Dad's weekend.
Yeah. No, they were. I like them.
Yeah.
Straight guys.
So I'm really glad I lived with them, because I was still like a dickhead 20-year-old and they were all like 21, 22,
They're more
23.
mature
And they
yeah.
taught me how to not be such like an immature kid.
Yeah.
And so it was cool like living with those guys. But I remember I moved in and I was like, yo, look what I got. Like, I have a DJ board now. Like, you guys want to hear it?
Yeah.
And they all would like give me like a little shit, like supportive, but it was like, oh, DJ Barker, blah, blah, blah. And everyone would fuck with me like, oh, you want to be a DJ now?
Mhm.
And I obviously I wasn't that good at it. So I'd do it in my apartment. I'd kind of try to teach them how to do it. And I'd sit there and just practice and practice and practice. And then there's actually a picture on my Instagram of all 4 of them posing with me. I think the first tailgate ever, like I think I'm in like a jersey. We're underneath like a tent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was brutal in the beginning. Like I only knew how to mix music that I liked, which mainly didn't have words and was like more like underground, like bass music stuff. And obviously that wasn't a big thing at Tallahassee at the moment, which eventually that kind of became a big thing. But so I'd get a lot of complaints in the beginning, like, hey, play more words, play songs people know. But it was hard to DJ that.
Well,
So
I
it's
think
hard.
If you go back a step, what the DJing you were doing and were describing and talking about isn't just like going from like a Journey love song to from one song to the next, like the wedding or something.
Yeah.
You're creating music.
Yeah, there was constantly being mixed.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was I never had like an agenda or set list or anything. It was just, I have this 500 song library
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we'll all figure out together what we listen to today at this tailgate.
Yeah.
And I'd play like house music in the beginning or like Drake, you know, popular stuff. And then as I drank and as people drank and as it like ramped up, I'd more move over into like the dark, like deeper stuff and start getting like kind of experimental. And then I'd get that first semester, I got a lot of complaints. Like, dude, what the fuck are you playing right now?
Really?
Oh yeah.
That's funny.
You got to think, this was a time where half our fraternity, because right, when I joined, we weren't that great.
Yeah.
It was a lot of like Georgia panhandle kids.
Some country boys.
Country.
Yeah.
And then me and a lot of kids in my fraternity, in my pledge class, were very SoFlo, like new generation, kind of like dickheads a little bit, and not like we just fish and hunt for fun.
Yeah. Well, it's a combination. They're listening to country music in Georgia.
Yeah.
Catching possums out of your frat room.
Yeah.
You guys are all down in South Florida going to Ultra.
Yeah.
Very different.
So that
culture clash.
But that was my influence for sure. And a lot of people didn't have that same influence, but as I DJ'd, we're like, yo, this is cool. And then got into it. Like Abdel and Abe were two of my friends at first. Were like, damn, I need to check this out. Not really that. I'm not going to say that because that's just not how it was. Kidding. But like they liked rap a lot and didn't listen to what I listened to a lot. But as I got better at DJing and as it was insistent on like, yo, you need to come to this music festival. You need to check this person out. People started coming around to it. But that first semester was definitely rough because I was still figuring out, it was the louder you play, the harder it is to DJ. Because your mistakes are so much more apparent. Yeah. Right. When I was in the bedroom on 2 little speakers, it was muddy and I couldn't tell where I was fucking up. And then I got to on the big speakers we had and I was like, geez, I sound like ass. Like I need to figure this out. So that first semester was a lot of complaining to me. Like we had a Facebook page and I'd check my phone and be like, Nate, dude, what the fuck is this? And it wasn't like terrible, but it was like, I was like just trying to wing it. But then as time got on, it got better and better. And I honestly, like I had to figure out a way because they wanted more words, but I'm a stubborn bastard and I wanted to play this bass music. Yeah. And I was like, you're going to figure out a way to enjoy this. And I'm going to make sure that I figure out a way for you to all enjoy this. Yeah. So then my focus was downloading super popular music and then running it over the lyrics over my music. And then by like the end of sophomore year, beginning of junior year, everyone was coming up to me who hated that music. Like, dude, this is sick. How'd you do this? Like, what is this? And I'm like, this is the music you hated 6 months ago. Yeah. I now just figured out a way for you to be able to like stomach it.
You put words to it.
Yeah. And so then we started getting like, people would come to the show and like, I don't want to like sit here and be like, oh, I was the man. People came to the party because I was DJing. That's not what it was. But there was a lot of times where like my friends, like girlfriends or their friends would come up and be like, yo, we only come here, or like we come here a lot because the music's awesome here. Yeah. And like, you know, we used to do this thing called Four Loko Friday where we'd buy a bunch of Four Lokos and it would lead into happy hour. And then as time went on and as more and more people kind of came around to the music, it would just turn into like half the people would go to happy hour, half the people would just stay at the frat and we would just party and I would just keep DJing. So it was a work in progress of figuring out how to get that crowd of people that I really didn't see eye to eye with on music to put up and tolerate what I was doing. Yeah. And that, I feel like that helped me like get good at mixing a lot just because I had to figure out a way to blend the genres more so than I would want to do. Yeah. Because when I was learning, it was just no words, like bass music, rhythms, and as simple as possible. That's a lot easier. When you start bringing in lyrics, you know, that gets tough. Yeah. But that's why I got into it. I saw that our frat needed it. Yep. It was something that had to be done. Otherwise we were going to stay in this, like, just this mid party scene where you have no clue it's being played. Cause that's jarring when you're like at a party and then all of a sudden it's silent. Yeah. Yeah. And then a new song starts and then it's silent. Yeah. Whoa. And you're looking around like, dude, who's on aux?
Well, we have videos of us going to the party.
We did.
And
there'd be people all around me freaking out.
Yeah. So my question, what's that like for you when you're sitting, we were there, like we're sitting behind you and we're all just, the place is going nuts, but we were participants. You were driving that, which was really cool. You know, at least from a parental perspective, it was like, this is pretty fucking cool.
It was cool.
But what, from your perspective, can you think back to that and you're like, you're into it, other people are into it, but then you look out and there's like 100 people in the frat yard just getting off.
Yeah. It's fun.
It's cool, right?
It was the best thing in the world.
Yeah, yeah.
For sure. I'd look up and there'd be like, and the best was like, I knew those people. You didn't. You just see like bystanders. I know that person hates this song. Yeah. But I got it into a way where they didn't even realize all of a sudden we're not listening to heavy bass music, not country, and you were like into it. Yeah. And it was fun. It was a powerful feeling. Yeah. Like you were in control. I was in control of it all. And like the music drives a lot of the vibes of a party.
Yeah,
it drives 100% of the vibe. So,
like we do like like Halloween parties, I'd make sure I had like a matchup with like the what is it? Like Freddy or whatever, that movie, like Halloween.
Yeah.
The Michael Myers, like
Yeah.
the piano. Yeah. I'd have that with like a drop.
Yeah.
Or we did like a jungle party. I had the Lion King song with a drop.
Right.
Yeah, that's
So
cool.
it was doing shit like that. Christmas, I had a whole playlist with like rap songs with Christmas beats and like all this stuff.
Yeah.
So would you say that your frat became a more popular frat during that time than it was?
Yeah, but not just because of me. I think I was a contributing factor, and I'm covering my ass here so my friends don't just absolutely
They
cook
get
me
shit on
after
you.
they listen to this. They're gonna be like, "Oh, you think it was all you?" It wasn't that. We recruited better. We got better people. Like our friend group, like, you know, people like Ali coming in.
Yeah.
My whole pledge class, like Ben, Abe, Abdel, Mac, are all just cooler than where we started and more outgoing, more social. Right? This is all social.
So yeah, when you just to clarify for the audience, what do you mean when you say cool?
Like we went out and met people.
Okay.
When I started, we barely hung out with like a sorority. We didn't have like a main sorority we hung out with. It was like a hodgepodge of individuals. Like our relations were low with other fraternities. Our relations were low with other sororities. And this was mainly like our leadership got better. Like Pierce became president. He was our social chair. He managed recess. He was a bartender.
Yeah.
He was facey, right? We just had facier people like that knew.
Explain facey.
Like you had some pull when you went out around Tallahassee, right? Clout.
Okay.
Clout. Yeah, clout. We had more clout.
Yeah.
We had bartenders at every bar. Like Matt got into Standard. We never had a bartender from Kappa Sig in Standard.
Okay.
So that became a thing where, you know, we'd go to happy hour and my roommate was the bartender at Clyde's. And then there's now 30 of us all just, you know, talking and around this area. And then we'd meet people and bring them back and be like, hey, come to our parties, come to this. So I think we just had a more social like shift where
more outgoing.
Yeah.
More outgoing and confident and all that. So have you
It was a group effort.
Have you been back since?
Yeah, I went for Kai's 21st birthday. I barely was at I think I went for a concert actually. They had one of my like favorite DJs play. It's pretty cool. Because we built this big stage for the last party I did. This like huge stage. We made the pledges build it.
Yeah.
And it's sick. We were like 15 feet above everybody. Gage, Finn, and I DJ'd, my two friends I mentioned earlier.
Oh, I don't think, did we even see that at graduation?
Wasn't it in the back corner of the frat yard, facing towards the frat house?
Yeah, probably.
Maybe we saw it on graduation.
You had to because it was there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like that was there, and then I went up for Kai's 21st, and they had a really good DJ there, and I remember going. It was cool. It was like kind of where I left off, but that wasn't where we started.
Right.
So they've carried that a little bit. I haven't seen it really since, so I can't speak on that.
Right.
But I just know from the time when my pledge class and my friends started there to where we ended was like a massive jump in like popularity, you know, connections, relationships amongst other fraternities and sororities.
Yep.
Because we all had friends in other frats too. Where some like when we first started, at least then this is all I've been told. I wasn't there, but it was very like seclusive, and we didn't have good like relationships with other fraternities. Kind of did our own thing.
Yeah.
And then by the end of when we were there, you know, when we did those like after parties, I'd say like 25% of the people there were Kappa Sigs. The rest were our friends that we've met through like out, you know, nightlife, different bartenders, different DJs, different girls that we'd always go out with. This also stems from the music festivals.
Yeah.
We'd meet a lot of these people at music festivals. And a lot of the times when we went to music festivals, half of our campsite would be people that weren't in our fraternity that we were just friends with. And then when they'd be like, oh, you know, this was a great time at the music festival, let's hang out in Tallahassee. And then we'd make more friends. And then that would just, it's an infectious thing where, you know, you make friends with this group, then they introduce you to this group. Then all of a sudden in a year, you have 5 groups.
Right.
Well,
it was fun.
Proximity wise too, if your frat house was right near Potts in that hot stretch there, if you're DJing, you're leaving Potts and you guys are open, people could easily flow in and it's on.
Yeah, that makes sense. And also you guys were on sorority row. I don't know, did that help too?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think so.
Getting girls there at least?
Yeah, because they were all, you know, they'd go to their house, whatever, take pictures, and then our house was the first thing in sight.
Right.
So it's like, hey, they're up to something. Let's go check it out.
Yeah.
And then I think in the early years, it was like, damn, these kids are lame. But then as time went on and as our group kind of got control, right? Because when I started, we had all the older kids were in charge. And then each year, the seniors graduate. Then the juniors who are now becoming seniors typically move into like president, social chair, the important positions. And so as that happened, as like the new age individuals became more important, like things got better.
Right. That
'Cause we
makes
were more all on
sense.
the same page too.
That
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
The whole frat leveled up because of the kids that were in there.
Yeah.
It's
That's all
really
it
what
is.
happened.
Yeah. And music,
I-
really. So
I have a question. I think you maybe want to go to a different topic, but I'm curious on the music front. So, as mom, we're into the Grateful Dead. We just bought a 3-day pass for Billy Strings in St. Augustine, so we're gonna go have some fun there.
Oh, when's that?
April,
April.
you're welcome to join us.
Is it GA or you have seats?
With seats.
Yeah. Either way, so one cool thing for us is as you've gotten into music, you've introduced us to a whole different world of music, whether it's grammatic, bass nectar, Alec. Alec as a DJ. We'll drop the plug again. You got to go see him. He's in Denver Metro.
What's his name again?
Illoh. Illoh.
Yeah, check him out on definitely Apple. That's how I listen to him.
Spotify and SoundCloud.
Yeah, check him out. Honestly, good, just amazing stuff. But so you've introduced us. We've had a lot of music's our tying bond within this family.
The entire family, because even Dylan is he's like you. He always has music going.
Yeah.
Yeah, but his music stinks.
No, it doesn't. No, every generation. He's the youngest Gen Z. They have a different.
We used to think your
taste.
music sucked too.
Oh, I listen to some of my older music and it sucks.
Yeah. Either way, where I'm going is I was lucky enough to go catch some New Year's Eve shows of Bass Nectar with Nathan, and I think it was Nathan, and well, we went by ourselves maybe, then Ben was
First
with
year
us.
was with Ben,
Yeah.
who was on the podcast. Then the second year was Ben, Mac, Ali, Pierce.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last 2 years was like all those groups I was talking about,
Everybody.
30 people.
Big group.
Yeah.
It started with us three getting seats in that tiny little enclosed area in Birmingham and having
Yeah.
a great spot.
Yep.
Then the next year was standing room only, 5 of us kind of
In
packed
Atlanta,
together.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think Greensboro was the next one. And that's when it became like probably 15 people, mainly from Kappa Sig,
Yeah.
mainly all other like fraternity brothers. And then I think in Louisville, that's when things really exploded. We had like 3 rows
Yeah.
of seats saved
Yeah.
for like all these different people.
Yeah.
It's cool.
That was wild.
What I think is so cool is that you wanted your dad there.
Oh, it's precious.
It was a funny question. Everyone's like, how did this come to be? Like, why? You're cool with your dad coming here? I'm like, bro, it's the coolest thing ever.
So
He doesn't care what we're doing. If he wants to come, I'm not going to tell him not to come.
okay, but you just nailed what I was about to say. Is we've tried to raise you guys with complete and open communication. I think we always told you guys, and we still tell Dylan this, you have all the freedom in the world. The only one that can take it away is you, as you were growing up. And mainly our biggest issue was if you lie.
Yeah, I would say that's the number one thing that I was told not to do.
Do not lie.
Mhm.
That we can work anything out.
Yeah.
We were very open about, we know you guys are going to party. We know you guys are going to do different things. Our main issue is safety and honesty.
I think the 2 times I got grounded was when I lied.
Yeah.
And I didn't get grounded for having a party. I got grounded for lying about it.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I think maybe one
funny.
of the reasons you felt, and correct me if I'm wrong, you felt comfortable including your dad because at that time at those shows you guys were partying.
Yeah.
And so you felt comfortable letting your dad into that world because of the way you've been raised with that open communication. You didn't feel he could come because you didn't feel you needed to hide anything from him. Would you say that that's accurate?
Well, so yeah, I think that's a big factor, but I think a lot of people, right, like you said, what you just said is important. We were partying. And so I think a lot of people are not honest about that with their families.
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably certain degrees, right, of honesty, but that was never a concern of mine because I knew like, I wasn't going to get in trouble, and B, I wasn't going to get judged.
Right.
I knew like because like you go see Bass Nectar, and some of these music festivals get out of hand with some of the energy in that place, right? Some of that music's so like aggressive and upbeat or whatever, people are really moving and, like letting loose, I guess. And I knew that wasn't going to affect like coming home and like my relationship, where I think some of those people had parents. And honestly, it comes down to you guys also being pretty cool about things and like being deadheads, following the Grateful Dead around. You've seen it. It's not like you guys are like
We partook.
goody two shoes parents, right? You probably did a lot of the same stuff I did.
Right.
So it's like, you're really going to, and that was the safety blanket. It's like, you're not going to judge me because I'm not doing anything different than what you're doing.
And we shared that with you at the appropriate age.
Yeah.
That look, we get it. Our goal always from the start was we agreed we wanted to know our children authentically always. We wanted to know who you were always. And if we ever made our children feel that they need to hide something, then we're not knowing who they are.
Yeah, and I think a lot of my friends now that I'm like I talk to often, like I consider my best friends, have similar relationships with their parents. I can't think of an example right now off the top of my head that is lacking that. But I do remember being in high school and college, mainly high school, it felt like, where kids would just lie about everything.
Yeah.
And their parents thought they were like not smoking, not drinking,
Yeah.
not going out late, not sneaking out,
not having sex.
yeah, all
that
this
stuff.
shit. Like they'd like go to church and think they're like this angel, and it's like, listen, dude,
Right.
that's all cool. Like, I'm not judging you because I'm your boy, but your parents are totally fucking clueless about you. They don't know who you are.
Yeah.
And I think that happened a little bit probably with those groups of base nectar. There was definitely some people that didn't have those like relationships with their parents. They had good relationships, but it was very like at face value, like, you know about me from what I tell you.
Yeah.
And I don't tell you a lot because if I told you a lot, you would think differently of me.
Well, you said before, you didn't feel like you would be judged, and maybe they feel like they would be. It didn't feel, maybe at that time, they didn't feel safe sharing that part of their world with their parents because they were concerned it would alter their relationship or they would be judged. So
a lot of the questions were like, you really don't care that your dad's here?
Right.
Or like, how did that come to be that you've now invited your dad to come to these things? Like when you guys just went and saw Base Nectar with me in Miami on the 29th.
So much fun.
Like 9 days ago or 10 days ago.
Yeah.
And a lot of people there were like, why are your parents here? I'm like, they wanted to come.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to tell them they can't come.
Yeah.
Who am I to tell them, oh, you're not allowed to come here because I want to go? Like, I'm like, I want them to come see this so we can all talk about it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think, but for a lot of people, and that's like, I'd say like 80% of the people that aren't like my best friend that know me well and know you guys well are all so thrown off because it's like they would never invite their parents to come to something like that.
Right.
Or would even talk about it.
I would say too, your closest friends are like, we're kind of grooving with them while we're there type of thing. It was all good.
Yeah.
Unless we're stupid and we they're misreading it, but
no. No one cared. Everyone thinks it's cool.
Yeah.
Well,
I think, and there's,
I think that just Dad and I cherish it. We cherish the fact that you welcome us and have always been open to us being a part of that part of your life, because we understand that that's a privilege for us. And so we've all, like when he asked you to go to Base Nectar, there was never a question. He was never going to say no.
I don't even know how that came to be.
Yeah, I don't either.
Like, you just asked him, I think. Yeah, I think
I might have been like, do you want to come? And then you're like, sure.
Well,
and I probably was like, oh, okay. Hey, Ben, my dad's going to come with us. And he's like, all right.
Well, thank God it was Ben. Ben will go with anything.
Yeah, but and him and I kind of vetted it out. Like, all right, is this guy going to be like cool, or are we going to have to be like, yo, you're not coming next year? And it worked out. And then because I remember the next year we went with Mac, Pierce, and Ollie, and they're like, your dad's coming? And Ben and I were both like, he's cool.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
He'll get us water.
It'll be okay.
Pretty much.
He'll get us home.
Like I remember Ollie specifically was like, and that's been, you guys didn't know each other that well. He's like, your dad's really coming with us? Like, are you sure about that? I'm like, bro, it'll be fine. Like, and Ben and I both were like, it'll be okay. Like, we just did this last year. Don't worry about it. We can still do whatever we want to do.
Yes.
He's not going to hold us back. Like, it'll be all right. We don't have to worry about him.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. No judgment. So I know you,
and now, like, they love
those
you.
Times.
So
yeah. And we love them, their family. But I know you cherish those times.
Yeah.
Those memories. And
those are some of the coolest concerts you could ever see.
100%. I remember, I guess it was Birmingham. And, it's, people are going, it's like a deadhead scene in a sense. They're the Wooks, right? There's full of Wooks. I'm the only non-Wook.
Yep.
I'm either a drug dealer to the cops, or I'm a narc.
Yeah.
That's
you're a fed to everyone my age, and probably like, yo, what's this guy selling to any cop?
100%. So the cops are looking at me shifty-eyed. The kids are looking at me like, what's this? And then I'd see a random dude roughly my age, and we'd be like, hey, what's up? But I remember when the first notes dropped, when Nectar came out in Birmingham, and people just started banging their heads, kind of not banging their heads, but were into it.
Yeah.
And they didn't stop until the end. And I was just like, okay, this is a deadhead experience.
It is.
This is how I jive with the dead.
Yeah.
And so it was cool. Totally different music.
Yeah.
But completely the same vibe.
So to your point, because Dad and I had lived the Grateful Dead experience for so long, he was able to pick up on it immediately. And he's like, okay, I get it. I get what this, you didn't have to explain anything to him.
But
He got
I
it.
feel like I was probably open to inviting him based off what you guys have told me about what you did in college, showing me the Grateful Dead. And honestly, I didn't really get into the Dead until after I graduated.
Yeah.
Like, I obviously listened to them when I was
Yeah.
with you guys. I think we saw like Further when I was younger. You know, we'd go to various things.
Yeah.
But I never once, like in college, I wasn't really listening to the Dead.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Because partly because I was always
Creating your
around
own
people
music.
and they didn't like the Dead. And
Yeah.
I already put them on this stuff. I'm not going to try to put them on
Yeah.
this. And I didn't listen to it all that much on my own. But I remember when I graduated and I started working and I started being like more an adult and less of a college kid, I was like, I can't just listen to this EDM shit at 7 a.m. in the morning while I drive to West Palm. I need something like more just chill in the background. And that's when I, like, one year I listened to Jerry Garcia and the Grateful Dead like 65 days or whatever.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
But so
yeah.
that's when I finally started getting into it, like myself, when I got like pilled and figured it out and looked into it on my own.
And I think that's how it goes. That's how people become Deadheads, because usually no one really listens to the Dead for the first time and they're like, this is awesome. Like, there's a lot that goes into it, and it kind of is insidious, and it gets into your blood, and then you really can't explain to anyone why you like it. You're like, it's just a part of me now.
Most good music,
know.
I think, is like that.
Yeah, a lot. So you graduated from Florida State. You had this wonderful experience with your frat. You double majored because you could have graduated in 2 years because of all the credits
3.
or 3
Yeah,
years.
I got a call to the dean's office, so I need to come in. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, you need to come in. I'm like, all right. I'm like, where the hell's the dean's office? Let me figure that
Or
out.
at Florida State.
Yeah, the business office. I walk in, they're like, so listen, you're going to graduate this semester. I'm like, no, the fuck I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're out of your mind. I was told I could do 4 years. I'm doing 4 years. This is like, it was like the beginning of my junior year. They're
He
like,
completely worked us.
no.
Well, we told him he could have
I'm
4
just
years.
kidding.
But because of all those credits from
Yes.
Boca High, you could graduate in
Yeah.
3.
She's like, this is all you need to take, and then you're done at the end of this year. I'm like, no. You need to help me out here. Like, what do we do? How do I stay here another year and not have to stay an extra year to
Right.
do it? I'm like, what do we fit in
4 years.
in the last year that gets me here? And then she's like, you could do a real estate degree. Like, a lot of it overlaps. So I picked up the real estate major. I ended up having to take 6 classes my last semester, but yeah, I finished 4 years.
So
4 years on the dot with
did.
2 majors.
Yeah.
You did. You got a double major in finance and real estate. You graduated in 4 years with a double major. And then you moved home, right, to start saving some money. And then, if memory serves, COVID hit, right? Well, you got your first job, and then I think COVID hit, correct? So you were going into the office
Yeah, I think so I worked up at Granite
in West Palm. Yeah.
doing sales, and then I was there for like 2.5 years, I think. Maybe 3. I think it was 2.5 years. Because yeah, I started 2019 in July. I definitely did a year in the office, and then that second year began, and then then COVID started, and we were, it was a huge company, so based out of Massachusetts, and then they put out the policy like, all right, we're gonna do work from home. So then luckily I lived with you guys, because that would have sucked.
Yeah.
Like living on my own, doing work from home, my bills would have gone up so much.
Yes.
So it was nice that I was living with you guys, and then I was at home until I moved to Boynton with Ali whenever he graduated, which I think was 2020. Like maybe halfway through 2020, towards the end of it.
I wonder if we're off a year, because COVID hit in the
COVID hit
March
winter
2020.
of 20. Yeah.
March 2020 is when COVID hit. And so that's when
I feel like I was with you guys during COVID for like at least 9 months.
Yeah.
definitely,
Well,
if
the
not
thing
longer.
about COVID here in Florida is it really ended by like the summer of
June
2020.
2020.
Yeah, so it didn't
It
last
was
that
like,
long.
yeah, I remember, because we went to Okeechobee, and that was the last weekend when COVID was going on,
Okay.
and then everything got canceled.
Yes.
So that was March 2020.
Did it Okeechobee got canceled, or
No.
right after that?
Okeechobee was essentially the last public gathering
Yeah, okay.
for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And I remember when we all were going in, like, this might not be the place to go.
I remember us talking about it as a family.
Yeah.
Like, does this,
This could be where we all
Yeah.
get COVID.
Like, where I roll.
You and Kaya went, and then it shut down.
That was
so
Base Nectar's last show.
was it really?
Yeah, because then he got canceled.
Yeah.
yeah. And then I think you lived with us all through COVID, and then you ended up moving in with Ali.
So Ali must have graduated the end of 2020.
Winter.
And then we probably moved in together like January.
I don't know if it was that quick.
Unless he,
I think it was that summer you guys
unless he
moved in.
graduated 2021 and we moved in together in the summer. That could have been it.
You did in June, I remember. So
Because he is 2 years younger than me.
yeah. So you lived with us for a while. It allowed you to save up some money, invest some money. I would say, like you just said, for COVID, because COVID hit your age group right as you were entering life. And so you guys got going.
We got a good year.
You got going. And then like society said, now stop.
Yeah.
And I think mentally I'm sure that was very challenging for all of you because you were just getting in a groove of your lives and then you had to kind of stop. And so the pros of you living with us were you didn't have to worry about the financial burden.
Well, I didn't spend any money.
You didn't spend any money. You had
I had no money going out.
right.
Yeah.
I had no bills.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't have a car at the time. I didn't have a car payment. I didn't
Yeah.
have rent.
Right.
You guys were paying for I think I had health insurance through my company. And then you were probably paying for my phone. But then like you guys fed me.
Oh.
We would do our weekly total wine orders. And then we all collectively were like, all right, we're turning into alcoholics. We need to cut the shit out.
Yes.
I was like, Mom, please stop ordering Modelo. I'm just going to drink it. Just please. And then I remember,
And you were surrounded by your family. So you weren't alone in an apartment.
yeah.
So I would
Which
say
that would have sucked too. A lot of people dealt with
Yeah.
that. I feel like I had it fine, partly because, like you said, it
Yeah.
ended in Florida in 2 weeks. We were back to doing things
Yeah.
fairly quickly.
I think
like
by,
at least going
by
out.
June, I think.
Yeah,
we
like
were,
going out to the bar, like we'd wear a mask. Like we had the dumb rule, the fucking stupidest goddamn rule in the world, where you had to fucking wear a mask to show your ID. And as soon as you're in the goddamn establishment, you took your mask off and never had to put it on again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the most ass backwards bullshit ever.
Well,
Yeah.
it's more ass backwards north of here because you couldn't do shit.
No, I understand
Yeah.
that.
That's Florida. We at least
It was more just
kinda
like,
dealt with it.
yeah, we're wearing masks.
Yeah.
Because I remember I went down to the Key West for 4th of July, and we were in they had this place called Dante's, which is like a pool club. You hop in the pool, it's all this whole thing, and you had to wear a mask in the pool.
No way.
And people were getting kicked out of the club for their mask falling off.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
And I remember that. So that must have been that 4th of July after COVID started. Because I remember I went down there with my buddy Evan and Tim, who you guys know.
Yeah.
And we were fully masked up. Like the bars on that. So have you ever been to Key West?
Yeah. We went as a family.
We took you guys.
So the way it works is I forget the name of the road, but it's like Bourbon Street in Louisiana.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can have an open container.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the way it worked was normally you go in the bar and then you can hop around. They moved all their booze and stuff to the front,
To the sidewalk.
to the sidewalk. So you'd walk up, they'd hand you a cup of Coke and they'd hand you a shooter of rum.
Mm.
And then they'd send you on your way and you'd pour it in yourself.
Yeah.
So then you're just walking up and down the street. But I don't think we were wearing masks in the street. It was just to get into these establishments.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it's just like, it was
Yeah.
like 50-50.
Yeah.
But to your point, if you lived anywhere besides Florida, you were just stuck.
Yeah.
And you
No.
were fucked.
Yeah. We had it the best, I think, out of
Well, we
everybody.
But that
Actually-
makes it hard to remember because there was like
Yeah.
COVID for
100%.
everybody else.
Yeah,
Yes.
totally.
I don't really remember totally being limited all that long.
weren't.
Yeah.
Like I think I specifically hung around with you because of Grammy D living with us and being older, and then we weren't sure what was going on. You had the thyroid thing, so we were a little bit more cautious. I feel like we did like a
Oh.
month
Right.
and a half at home.
Where you were careful.
Yeah, and then it was
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
Go
we
do
were
your thing.
fine.
Well, we
Yeah.
traveled. Dylan played travel lacrosse.
That summer,
Then-
we were in South Carolina.
South
Yeah.
Carolina still dealt with it differently than everywhere else. But then, like the following year, we went up to Pennsylvania.
and this
And
is
there
when there was
still-
nothing going on in Florida.
Nothing's going
Right.
on
And then
here.
you're going up there and being like back in that world.
Back
Yeah.
in the world.
Yeah.
It was a trip.
Yeah.
It was weird because
It was weird.
you
I flew to New
forget.
York and they threatened to kick me off the plane. We're halfway to New York,
Yeah.
and I fell asleep and my mask came off. She's like, "I'll turn the plane around right now." I'm like, "All right,
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna turn around the plane."
Well, I think it was kind of like how you forget it's winter when you live in South Florida,
Yeah.
that everywhere else, and then all of a sudden you see something on TV. It's
Yeah.
kind of like that. Like we forgot for a while that COVID was even a thing still
Yeah.
until you go to another state.
But that
Yeah.
makes it hard
You
to
know.
remember what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
that
when
makes
when I
sense.
moved in with Ali, I was still at Granite. I got him
Yeah.
a job at
Yeah.
Granite,
Yep.
Right. So
and then I left Granite.
Yeah.
And he was still at Granite when we lived together. And then I think he left Granite, and that's when he moved to Boston, and I moved back in with you guys.
well,
Yeah.
one of the reasons you moved
That's
back
right,
in with
that's right.
us is because there was this boom because of COVID and because Florida was open. Everyone moved here, and as a result, the housing prices went up and your rent tripled.
Yeah.
And that happened to a lot of young adults that
And I
lived
didn't
here.
have anyone to live with.
And there was not another roommate to live
Yeah.
with, but a lot of young adults, it was a phenomenon. I don't think just in Florida, but where this was happening, young adults were having to move back home because the rents were tripling and they couldn't afford it. And so you did that, but you were only with us, I think, what, 9 months or something.
Yeah, until Nash became available.
And then you moved into a place here with your friend near the beach. So you've been in sales since you graduated. You got your degree in finance and real estate, chose not to go either one of those routes. Why do you think you're drawn to sales?
Honestly, it was a combination of not really knowing what I wanted to do. And that just, like, obviously, when I first graduated, I was just looking to get a job. It felt like just go get something, and then that'll help you move somewhere else. Or, like, for example, junior year of college, I did an internship at Northwestern Mutual selling life insurance. And that was sales, but it was to consumers. So calling like parents and like individuals that own our business. All that taught me was I never want to do anything that involves not calling businesses. So I was like, that's done. So then I was like, all right, let's go try business to business sales, it was good. The issue is COVID kind of threw things off and like warped the reality of business.
Yeah.
And that persisted into my next job. But I don't know. I like sales just because I like talking. I like convincing people to agree with me. It's also like I'm pretty money focused, and I like that I have a base that gets my bills paid. But then it's like the harder I work, the more money I can make a commission. Then that opens up to how much you can make. It's also just a social thing. Like I feel like I'm that stereotype of talking a lot, being like pretty outgoing. I like going out to the bar and meeting people and like hanging out with my friends every weekend. And a lot of the same people I'm friends with like, are also in sales because it's just like a competitive thing where you're go. Everyone you work with is pretty like-minded. I wouldn't fit in like a back office like with a bunch of IT people. That's just not my personality. Like I don't share those interests.
What's wrong with IT people?
But I don't know. I couldn't really put like a word on it. I'm still going to continue to do it. I do it right now. I think whatever job I do next will be in sales as well.
I have a theory. Do you want to hear it?
Sure.
So, you like to gamble a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you get that from your great great grandfather, your great grandfather, your grandfather. That's from my side. I think the sale is it's like that hit when you get the sale.
Yeah.
It's like you
100%.
got the win.
Yeah, you hit a bet, you hit a sale. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's tied to that same part of your personality that you like the anticipation and the work towards something and the excitement when it hits.
Yeah.
And even when it doesn't hit, you're just on to the next thing to get that.
Yeah.
So I think it kind of goes hand in hand with your person. I think you would have been, at least at the time and at least right now in your 20s, would have been bored in finance.
Even now, I couldn't see myself doing that.
Even though you have the mind for it.
It's just like, that's a total different thing too, because you're not talking to people as much. That's
Right.
more like crunching numbers, staring at like spreadsheets. You have collaboration internally. You're obviously on calls, but my whole shtick is like, just pick up the phone and then bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where that's not like that.
Right. No,
and you like that.
Oh, so fun.
Yeah. So, and I think it takes that personality that likes to talk to people, likes to convince people, and also is likes the hit of this making the sale. So then that's what makes you a successful salesman. But I think it takes a certain person to enjoy sales.
Most people I know that aren't in sales always ask me like, how the hell do you pick, like, why do you like being on the phone? Like most girls I meet don't understand how, like, they hate getting on the phone.
Right.
And anyone who's not in sales just like thinks it's like picking up the phone's like this horrible thing. Like if I order food in certain places and they have an order online, I'm just going to call them.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So do you know?
Like, I don't want to go on I want to talk to this person and make sure they're not going to fuck my order up.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
And it's quicker.
Yeah.
Do you think you look at somebody like Dylan's generation where they do not, their world.
I don't know what they're going to do.
So their world has been social media, texting, Snapchatting, and then it's face-to-face talking or maybe on the phone talking. I've heard Dylan get on the phone at times with his friends. Where do you see the difference in, like, you're used to talking, you're used to face-to-face talking, you're used to interaction real time. Where do you see there's an
awkwardness
differences there with that younger Gen Z and that Gen Alpha generation?
So it's tough to like pinpoint right now because like I'll pick him up from his buddy's place or I'll give him and his friends a ride and they all put their faces down and get on their phones and no one says a word to each other. Where I feel like when I was a kid, we'd be in the car just like blabbering.
Right.
Yeah.
Just
right.
yapping.
Right.
about God knows what, and you're probably up there like, oh my fucking God, these kids
Yeah.
won't shut the fuck up.
The phone's not the worst thing when you got 5 of them in the
No,
car.
no. In this, for me, I
Yeah.
pick them up. I'm like, get on your phones.
Yeah.
No one say
Yeah.
a goddamn word.
Shut
We're
up.
gonna listen to music, and
Yeah.
you all are gonna type. But I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do, because I do think there's like an awkwardness going on with these kids. I think a lot of what they're digesting on the internet is also just so fucking brainless and terrible. Like, there's a lot of like just traps on social media to keep your attention that's not like providing you any value. So I'm curious. Like, I don't want to say they're doomed, because right now they're also 14. This is from my experience. This is all my experience with mainly him and his friends. They're 14. I'm sure when I was 14, there was an awkwardness of speaking. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you're a little nervous. You're still not fully sure of yourself. You're still going through the puberty and like the confidence of like testosterone and all that.
Yeah.
So like, it's hard to be like, jump the gun and be like, oh, these kids are doomed when they get like, as of right now, I don't think any of them would survive on a phone call.
Right.
I don't even think any of them survive getting pressed by their boss in an interview, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're just not, but they're also 14.
They're 14.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. It'll be curious to see how it plays out.
2 years will be a big.
Yeah. By the time he's a junior and he's 16 years old, I'll be interested to see what's going on. I do think it's going to be worse, because they're just always on their phones. I feel bad for them. I don't know how I would have handled always being available to like girls you're trying to, you know, get with, friends you're trying to make plans with. Like, when I was a kid, there was no group chats.
Yeah.
Right. If you wanted to make plans, it was like, and I would call my friends too. It's like, hey, do you want to fish? Okay, cool. I'll call the other buddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then, hey, do you want to fish? No. Okay. Call your other buddy back. Hey, he's out. Should we call someone else? Right. There was a lot of back
That's
and
what
forth.
we did as
Yeah.
kids.
You had to like plan it out. Now it's like, there's 12 of them. And this is what my friends and I do currently. Hey, who's free today? Let's figure out something to do. And then all of a sudden 5 kids are free. And now you're making plans with the 5 people that are free. But I feel bad for them, because that's just how it's been since he's like an 8th grader.
No, that's how it's been
6th grader.
his whole life.
Yeah.
So that brings up how you're a Zillennial, whereas you had most of your childhood. Snapchat entered your world, I think, sophomore in high school, freshman, sophomore.
Yeah. Instagram was freshman year. I think Snapchat was sophomore year. I never really got on Snapchat. I still don't. I don't have it anymore.
I think that's appropriate for your age. I think anyone on, I don't
a
think
lot of people use
27. Oh, okay.
I agree. I agree.
Okay. But I mean, to my point is Dylan is the first true all social media generation. It'll
be interesting to see.
Well, it's not just an all social media generation.
Phone.
Yeah, it's the phone. It's
like,
the 24/7 by 365 access.
And it's
to
getting worse.
people.
You go to a fucking restaurant and 4-year-olds have iPads, and that's their version of shutting up. It's like, geez, dude.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think's going to happen when your kid's missing his
But that's
dopamine?
been going on for a while. The iPad's been in kids' laps probably since Dylan's age and his generation.
He used to have it here and there, but not nearly as bad as some of these other
No,
people.
it has increased. It's definitely increased. But do you think that technology also has affected the dating world for your age, people in their 20s, and to a detriment?
I mean, yeah. I think Instagram's pretty bad, just because it's like I mean, at least the thing that drives me crazy is like you'll meet people who on Instagram seem like one type of person, and then you meet them for the first time in real life, or you know, I'll have friends I obviously followed on Instagram from like high school or like middle school, and all I know from them is what they post. And then you come across them and meet them at the bar, and it's like, Jesus, you're not anything like this.
Right.
So I think it's like there is like multiple personalities being created here. Obviously, not everybody's like this, but this is definitely a thing. I think you can tie back to COVID, where it forced a lot of people to be inside. And if you were on your own, like you were saying, up in New York for a year and a half,
That makes sense.
That's a lot of social interaction you're missing out on. And to your point, those were the years fresh out of college. Being a college kid is way different than being an adult. When you're a college kid, it's kind of like high school, where like everybody you interact with is on the same page of you're not working, you really don't have any responsibilities, and you're just looking to have fun. That's a really easy way to bond over things with someone, when it's like, this is all kind of just for fun. Now it's like, there is multiple things going on. Like you have a job, you know, you have your hobbies you do, you're trying to go to the gym, stay healthy, all this shit. And I think COVID probably stunted that a little bit with a lot of people, because you just missed out on like a year and a half of like socializing with individuals, and your way of socializing went digital. So you're not practicing speaking and like looking people in the eye. And you know, having common, like just normal social cues. I feel like social cues have definitely gotten worse with a lot of people. And that's why you hear about a lot of girls calling guys creepy or
Mm,
like a lot of guys, you know, saying things about girls. It's like, there's just been this gap.
So
that
do you
makes
think
sense.
COVID stunted all that normal communications and interactions and stuff?
Yeah.
And it's got a longer term effect?
Yeah.
What a trip.
Because think about it, that's like a skill you practice every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when I just took a 2-week break from my job. I came back, my first phone call was probably shit.
Mm,
Yeah.
Because it's like
You're rusty.
I haven't done this in 2
Yeah.
weeks. So you do that a year, but then
Yeah.
that's my job that I've been doing for 5 years that is also pretty emotionless, and it's just picking up the phone and trying to make a sale.
Mhm.
With this, like if you're trying to talk to like a guy trying to talk to a girl, there's like the pressure of like trying to win her over. So
Mhm.
that's riding on your head, right? Wanting to make sure you say the right thing. But now you're a year and a half removed of like practicing and working out the kinks and like trying to figure out
Yeah.
to date outside of being in college.
Well, both
Where
sides are too.
But in college, it's like you could have like some sort of status just because of who you were.
right.
Yeah. Like if you bartend right at a bar, and then you're gonna tell that girl pretty quickly on, hey, I bartend at this bar. So in that girl's head, she's like, oh, he's cool. He's in a fraternity. He bartends. He has a lot of friends. That already does a lot of the heavy lifting for you.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't really matter what comes out of your mouth from that point on.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
you've been vetted through like your social resume.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
But now you're just a sales guy at a company that really means nothing to a female.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So you're now having to figure out, okay, well, what differentiates me to make this person like me or want to go out with me? But you missed a year and a half of figuring that out.
Yeah.
So now you're coming back into it, and there's an extra pressure of now I'm older,
Yeah.
they're older,
Yeah.
and we all still kind of don't know what we're doing. Like I do think that COVID hurt that a little bit.
Well, also when they
And that's where social media got really like,
to define themselves, they
Yeah.
used Instagram or social media to now, how am I going to differentiate myself? I'm going to create a persona on social media.
and I think that hurts me a little bit because I don't use social media.
Right.
So if you're a girl like looking into me, you're not seeing much.
Right.
Like I've posted once each year the past 4 years,
Right.
and I think I skipped one of those years.
I was going to ask you that. It's because you're the, what'd you call them, Zillennials?
Zillennial. Yeah.
And you grew up without the tech and then moved into the tech. Is your age group, are you able to not be like, you're doing it, obviously. I'm not into social media, whereas other people are.
Yeah.
You can kind of straddle the fence there.
Yeah, but it's like I'd say it's somewhat of a segregation in terms of like being social.
right.
Like
yeah.
there's certain people that care about that a lot,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
I don't. And honestly, if you do, I just don't really fuck with
Yeah.
you.
You're more old school.
And that's both guy and girl. It's like, dude, if you're a dude posting Instagram stories and wanting me to like take pictures with you while we go to happy hour, like I'm probably not going to be your friend, and that's just it's okay. None
Well,
of my friends are like that.
You're
Yeah.
very old school.
Yeah.
You know, I think that I personally think a dash of old school into your generation could go far, as long as there's girls that are receptive to it, because they may find it creepy. You know, like if you show up to a girl's place to pick her up, you walk up to the door, you knock on the door, you might have some flowers. They're gonna be like, "What the?"
Fucking
Yeah,
weird.
they're gonna be like,
But
"Weirdo."
that's not
you
just
know?
from social media and just from COVID. What you got to think about what's happened these last 3 or 4 years. Like the feminist movement got way out of control.
Totally. Yep.
Politics have become people's identities.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's literally people like on Hinge and people you'll meet where it's like, if you're conservative, don't talk to me.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, okay, like you're
Right.
fucking crazy.
The world's
Right.
divided.
That's a wild take to have. That's
Right.
your personality now. That because I voted for someone else, we're just automatically like enemies.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
that's crazy. I would never think of it like that. Like I might judge you a little bit
Right.
because you voted for Joe Biden, but I'll still hear you out and like maybe we're still friends.
Yeah.
But there's people like that, both guy and girl, that are like, just it's like this, it's bad. Like the feminist movement got a little out of hand and partly damaging to women, I think, a little bit,
And identity politics.
and identity politics.
Identity,
But then you throw
yeah.
that in with social media becoming a bigger thing and everyone wanting to make money from social media. Like the OnlyFans
Yeah.
movement's crazy. And everyone thinking like just because you remotely have a presence online, you now should be this like influencer this is your shtick. It's like, dude.
Right. Right. It becomes
Get
your
it
whole
together.
personality. So with OnlyFans, we are so out of touch with anything that is. Is that really prevalent with women in your generation in their 20s? I guess late teens. Not that you would know
I
about
don't
that,
know.
but 20s. Like,
I'm not sure. I
is
don't
it accepted?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah, my mic is wacky.
You're
It is.
basically like a porn star, but
No, I
it's
understand
sole
what OnlyFans
proprietorship.
is, but
so OnlyFans. So young women in their 20s are having OnlyFans accounts and
Asking people to send them money and posting pictures and videos and all this shit.
no,
And
I get what OnlyFans is, but that's the genre, I guess, that's blowing up is your age
it
group.
has blown
I
up.
think it's pretty oversaturated in the fact that like I saw a stat, it was like 1 million American girls in like a certain age bracket. I want to say like early 20s.
Yeah.
What a trip.
Trying to do OnlyFans, but the
Yeah.
issue is like there are some girls who make bread, like
Oh,
millions of dollars.
Yeah.
But then there's probably, I'd say like that's the 1%.
Yeah.
But think about if you go do OnlyFans and sell yourself out and make $50 a month,
Yeah.
you now have no respect from me,
Yeah.
no self-respect,
Yeah.
and no career. So like, what are you?
Yeah. That's a huge risk.
Like, what are you now?
Would you say it's almost a form of like in this day and age porn?
100%.
Yeah.
But it's more
It's like private. It's like being able to be your own CEO in porn versus like working with a studio, I think.
but it seems like it's more quote unquote accepted in a way
Well, it is.
to have an OnlyFans account.
I don't know. I don't know
Among
if-
women, maybe among young women. Do you think they judge each other?
But that's why I say I think the feminist movement got a little too far. This
So
went from empowering women to like selling yourself out as a whore and it somehow being okay.
right.
But I'm
right.
telling you, most people I'm friends with, like, that's like yeah, I'm not dealing with that.
Would you say that's true with most young men?
Yeah, I'd say it's a deal breaker for a lot of people. It depends what you're looking to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild. I don't share that perception, but I'm also married. I'm not out on the market. I think it's good for them to have another alternative means of an income. But I agree with you. If you don't strike gold, it's rough because now you're out there. You've
I mean, you
shared
can
things
do
about
that.
yourself. But I think it's a good. I'm open to anything that lets people make money and not be stuck in something and empowers them, if it empowers them, I guess.
But I don't know if it is empowering them. That's what
I
what
think
I'm
it's
it
saying.
temporarily
I think it's
does.
creating mental health problems
You think so?
for sure.
And that's where I might be
'Cause,
wrong.
okay, think about this.
Yeah.
You think you're this hot girl and you're getting no action on the OnlyFans. Now you're like, am I really this hot?
Right.
And now you're in your head like, fuck,
Yeah.
am I totally wrong about myself?
Well, you've exposed every aspect of yourself. You've saved nothing
That's
for
the
yourself.
danger.
Yeah, and then like
you
I
know.
don't want to date you if you have 1 million videos of you like
Right.
doing things on the
Yeah.
internet.
Yeah.
Right. Right. So would you say that there is definitely though young men that are all about the persona and are looking for women that look a certain way and fill the physical needs of the online persona just to have that arm candy and don't really care about any substance?
Yeah, but that's not new.
Yeah.
So you just okay, so that's
That's not
just a
new.
constant thing.
I mean,
Let's see.
that's
Yeah.
Look at what's his
Oldest
name?
time itself.
Leonardo
Okay.
DiCaprio.
Yeah.
DiCaprio?
Yeah, yeah.
What does he only date 25-year-olds?
True,
Yeah.
true.
That's just a void you're filling.
I think I'm just tying it in with online
it's
now.
just now more
Yeah,
common because
yeah.
everybody has a profile.
It's more
True.
visible.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's no different.
Yeah.
So how challenging is it to meet people down to earth, to meet women down to earth that are somebody you would consider seriously dating? Is it pretty challenging?
Yeah, I guess so.
Is it?
I mean,
Is-
it definitely still happens. Like,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
You just got to meet it through connections.
Okay. So it's
Like
more,
I feel like it's definitely got to be like you got to get leads from your friend.
so it's
Yeah.
old school. It's gone.
It's-
more
everything's old school.
Yeah. It's going back to
I mean,
old
that's for
school.
me. I'm sure there's people having success hopping on Instagram and DMing
Yeah.
and DMing and DMing and DMing and striking out and striking out.
Right.
I don't have Instagram again. I just recently deleted it again because I got tired of being on it. But like that's definitely a subgroup of individuals probably having success.
Right.
I'm not doing that. I've
Yeah.
looked for leads all day at my job. I'm not going to look
Yeah.
for leads on my
Yeah,
phone
right.
for women.
Yeah.
What about dating apps? Like sometimes they're hit or miss.
Yeah, I've used it a couple times. I've gone on a few dates, but it gets kind of old doing the song and dance of like, so where you from? What's your name?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
you study? Yada, yada, yada.
But that happens even old school. If you're old school dating, you're
Yeah,
still
but
going through
it feels
that.
way more natural if you're just out casually at the bar with your friends and all of a sudden like you and a girl start talking and you just
True.
naturally get through that versus like
Yeah.
taking a girl out on like a Hinge date and then you're forced to sit there for 30 minutes
Mhm.
going over like the preliminary basics of this person's life, trying to the whole time judging them
Yeah.
Mhm.
and being judged, right? So you have the opportunity to sell yourself in a way that might not totally be truthful.
Right.
So it's a first impression thing where it's like, all right, for these
Yeah.
next 2 hours, I want to make myself sound like the fucking man
Yeah.
Yeah.
and just and either lie or stretch the truth a little bit. So it's like I don't know. It got old after a couple times. I was like, yeah.
You
It's
bring
not organic.
no,
No,
what you
that's a really good way to put
Yeah.
it. It's
Yeah.
not organic.
Not
It's like
organic.
you're like both forcing an issue.
well, you bring up a good point as far as like talking about the younger generations that are always on their phones. They probably, when they're trying to date or chase the opposite sex, they have all this time to prepare their pitch because they're only using technology. Like they don't have to do it on the fly. So
What do you mean by that?
so they can present themselves through Snapchat, right? Snapchat
Yeah. So think about
texting.
like you
Okay.
text someone,
Got
right?
it.
And they
Got it.
respond. You now
Yeah.
have 30 minutes that you could take to formulate the perfect response.
Yeah.
And I think this is definitely an issue, probably with my age, definitely with Dylan's age and in between and younger as they get older. If you're only talking to people on the phone, texting,
Yeah.
you have all the time in the world to come up with something witty.
Yeah.
And you could be some idiot
Yeah.
that has no wit. But if you sit there long enough and type in, delete, type it, delete,
Now you
until
have
you come up with
ChatGPT.
something, right? You can
Yeah.
come up with something good. And then it's like, okay, now I'm good for a couple minutes until she responds and I'll figure something else out. But then you go on a physical date and you start talking and you both sit there and you're like,
Right.
because
Right.
that's definitely a thing.
It's a skill to be able to have banter, to be able to talk to people. And to your point, if
And
you,
I think his generation is going to be fucked by that. I
It's-
think, but maybe not him. Like he's pretty normal, but he definitely has some friends that are
Yeah.
going to get smoked by that.
yeah, I think there's something to be said.
It's like the opposite of
To-
a keyboard warrior.
Yeah, to you need to be able to then, follow through on what you're presenting through text. You need to be able to show up and be that person. So it'll be interesting to see once they hit their late teens, early 20s.
But that's an issue with Hinge,
Yes,
right?
it's the same thing. It's
because
the same thing.
the first like 20 messages, like the objective is to grab the number and get a date set up. I'd say, right?
Mhm.
That's like step one.
Mhm.
Is all right. When can we meet?
Mhm.
So I can see if your pictures are actually real or not.
Mhm.
And then it's like, are you actually this type of person, right? Because you can talk
Yeah.
and sit there and say anything. And I will say, like, at least in my experience with Hinge, because I don't look at it all that often, there'll be like a week in between my responses,
Mm.
or like a couple days, right? Because I'm just
Mhm.
not looking. I'll miss the notification. I'm not going to go look. It's not like an app I'm opening up. Like I look at my messages every day to see if I've missed a text. That's a total different
Yeah, yeah.
platform that I'm not looking at a lot.
Right.
And so then it's like you can do the first like 10 messages of banter to try to figure out this individual. And then when you go meet with them, they're a completely different type of person. And then you're sitting there like, holy fuck, I don't want to be here anymore. Like, what do I
Right.
do?
Right.
And then you're like faced with, do I just cut this short? Do I just,
Mhm.
tough it out and just never hit this person up again?
Right.
But like that blows. Like
Yeah.
that sucks to go through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that could happen even with just any normal first date. But at least if you like meet them out at the bar, within 10 minutes of talking to someone,
Yeah.
you can get a pretty good idea if you're going to mesh with them or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? So then if you take that out, like it can be real, you can be in trouble.
I think that's
really
what's
quick.
missing. I think that's what's missing is that initial can we vibe or not time.
Yeah.
That's what's been completely taken out with technology being introduced because that is where you kind of feel out, is this
Well,
worth pursuing?
What do they call those places? Like third places? It's like a coffee shop.
Oh, the third stop. What the hell's the coffee place we go to in Boca?
Third place lounge.
No.
Oh.
But I think that's what it is. It's like back in the day when you didn't have a phone, like think about the show Friends. They would
Yeah.
always meet in the coffee
Yeah.
shop to
Yeah,
talk.
yeah.
You'd meet people at a sober environment,
Yeah.
Yes.
like a bookstore, coffee shop.
Yeah.
Like that's not really a thing as much anymore.
Mm-mm.
At least for
No.
me and a lot of people I interact with, it's like I go to work, I go to the gym, I'm at my apartment until I go out to the bar or like a restaurant.
Right.
And if I happen to run into someone also at the bar, great. But like then alcohol is now influencing the thing.
Right.
If you go to like a club, it's like what are the intentions here behind a lot of people? So there's not as much casual, just like, hey, you go to my coffee shop every Tuesday, what else
Yeah.
are you interested in?
Right.
Like I'm not going to
right.
a coffee shop.
Right. Right. No, it's really interesting. What's your take on who should pay?
I mean, I think the guy should pay on the first date every time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then as the guy, you should definitely make it so you're not exposing yourself to too much financial responsibility by like making
Yeah.
sure you're not going. Like I'm not taking a girl. So in my opinion, and a lot of people I talk to, I do not like eating with a girl on the first date.
Yeah.
I think the move is to go to like a happy hour type bar in public around people. I even like sitting at the bar and just having a couple drinks and talking, super casual.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll pick up that tab of drinks. It's like $50 probably. So you're not tied into like some fucking. Then it's like, oh,
A 3-course
can I get the
meal in.
lobster? It's like I'd rather you not,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I'm about to get not the lobster. So like I'm gonna get a burger.
yeah.
Could you not double my price? But like, no, I think that you should probably pay. Unless the girl's like, I don't know, it's never happened to me, but like maybe there's some horror story where she's like ordering some super expensive thing on purpose, and it's like,
I
hold
think
up.
that happens.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, there's definitely, I think,
There's people working these.
No, there's
apps
girls
to
that
make
use
that
this
happen.
to
Yeah.
get meals.
Yeah.
gold digger meals.
What do they call
crazy.
them? There's got to be a name for these.
I call them gold digger meal chasers, but I don't think that's it.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
But so no, I feel like you should pay you should pay at least the first date, probably the second date. Again, you have to manage it so you're not like dropping $100 on every date. But it's like you're gonna end up spending like at least $200, I'd say.
Well, it probably takes a couple dates to figure it out.
To get to your goal, you're gonna have to drop some bread.
Yeah, to figure it out. So, do you?
But then once you get like past that like first date, second date, third date phase, where you're like, all right, figure this out, and you have some sort of like
rapport.
Like recently, I went out on a few dates with this girl over the summer, and I think she picked up the tab on the third date.
Right.
Like I went to pay, and she's like, "No, I got it. You pay for the last two." And I'm like, "All right, fine." And I'm personally gonna, if they're offering, I'm gonna take it. Like, don't offer if you want me to be like, "No, it's okay, I'll do it." Like, if you're gonna offer, you can buy my meal,
right?
Because I did just pay for the last two,
right?
And then you hit the back and forth,
right? No, that makes sense.
And honestly, like if you're a girl that's willing to go like 6 or 7 dates without paying, like you're fucked,
right? Right.
You need to toss them some money.
Right. Because I think it just says something about a person being thoughtful.
You're just disrespectful.
And considerate and generous. Yeah. So that makes sense. Now, I know you do the thing where you don't let a girl walk on the outside on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Do you open the door, the car door?
Yeah.
You do. Okay. Now, do you go up to a door or do you text I'm here? Or do you not pick up?
For what?
A date.
No. That's like meet me at the place.
Okay, so you guys meet. Is that normal?
I feel like the girl does not want you go into their apartment and knowing where you live.
Agreed.
Okay.
No girl's ever like, yeah, I live here, come pick me up.
Yeah.
It's always like, hey, I'll meet you. And what this girl was like talking about not having a car one time, and I was like, I'll scoop you. And she's like, no, it's okay, I'll Uber. I'm like, all right, perfect. See you then.
That makes sense.
No, I've never had to run into that issue.
Okay, all right.
But I feel like that's part of girls being like, guys are fucking creepy these days. I'm not telling them where I live.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, and it's warranted for sure.
Yeah.
You know, I think that women definitely now more than ever are on the watch, you know, for the red flags.
Good reason to be. There's a bunch of weirdos in the world.
I wouldn't want to get picked up by a random girl.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like that I've never met.
Yeah. Because what if she's crazy?
No, you're fucked.
Yeah. Then she knows where you live.
Yeah. No, you can't do that. You got to be like very protective.
Yeah. No, it makes sense.
The world's changed.
People are crazy these days.
Yeah, they are.
Well, some of it might have to do with what you talked about. The growth was stunted during COVID, and
I think a 15-year-long Adderall prescription doesn't help.
That's where I was going to go.
Antidepressants, like, oh, you have a tough time getting out of bed, so you're going to take pills every day. Like, you're cooked.
This isn't social media or a phone epidemic. This is a pharmaceutical drug problem we have in this country.
Yeah. So I do think that's a really big influence.
You think with the GenZs,
that's a red flag to me. Like if you're taking anti-anxiety every day, I am going to be very cautious about what else you do that might be a red flag, because there's a pattern there.
Yeah.
Like you're probably just fucking nuts.
Yeah.
And there's a certain like level, right? There's that hot crazy scale where you'll deal with it to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But like once you reach that level, it's like, yeah, I'm out.
Right.
I can't do this.
Right. Are you finding that a lot of people your age are on some sort of pharmaceutical?
I feel like a lot of girls I meet are on something.
Antidepressant or anxiety. Why do you think that is? Like for real, why do you think
they've been conditioned to think that minor inconveniences are a mental health issue? And that's guys and girls alike. I think the whole world is just so soft. Like you have one bad day and all of a sudden you fucking think you need a pill to not have another bad day. Like, dude, you're going to have tough days. You just got to deal with it. Like there's days where I wake up where I'm like, fuck, I don't want to go to work. But me taking a pill is not going to get me to my job. It's like, you just got to suck it up and deal with it and think about tomorrow or work your way to the weekend and then look inward. It's like, if you only eat fast food, never work out, and are always on your phone looking at bullshit TikToks that are designed to capture your attention or piss you off and create an outrage, right? Like rage bait you. And then you're constantly like stressed out about it. Maybe you should not do that instead of taking a pill that allows you to do that and be normal. Like cut out some negative things from your life versus just automatically going to your therapist and being like, I need
Yeah.
Xanax.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, you don't. You just need to fix your habits.
So what about people that suffer from depression for years and years and have tried everything?
I'm not a doctor. I don't know.
Yeah. Because that
That's
exists.
real.
That exists.
That's real. I do think that's real, but I think all Americans are overprescribed
I agree.
way
with that.
too quick. Like you
I
can go
agree.
get a prescription with like a telehealth meeting now.
Yeah.
I agree.
Right? Like I can hop on a call and even just getting your med card, which is fine, but like you can be like, oh, I have anxiety. There's no testing that.
Yeah,
They're like,
yeah.
cool, here, go get legal weed.
Yeah.
Oh, good. That's legal weed. Okay.
Yeah.
But you can do the same shit for like something way more addicting.
Yeah.
And the side effects of all those drugs, like if you ever sit there and watch sports, we were all Abdel Ben and I watched the Notre Dame game on Thursday. There's this commercial called Sky Rizzy. It's for like plaque psoriasis and
crazy.
Crohn's disease.
Yeah.
But then they go really quickly in this deep voice. Side effects are depression, suicide, thoughts of constant blah 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 blah. It's like that's what they all do. And then I saw one that was a depression drug, and the side effect is depression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, you know me. I think that we need to go into a whole clean eating. The society. I think when COVID hit, and we should have focused on restructuring the health of America, but instead it went
I
a
got
totally
pretty
different
healthy
route.
during COVID. I started biking,
Yeah.
spending some time outside.
Yeah.
Like, because it was like, I honestly, like, in the beginning, I was like, dope. I don't have to go to work. I'll just play Xbox with all my friends who also don't have to go into work. Like the new Call of Duty was out.
Yeah.
It was right after we graduated, so we all were kind of missing each other.
Yeah.
And it was like, dope. Now we can spend all day just talking to each other, bullshitting on Xbox. And then after like a couple weeks of that, I was like, okay, I need to get the fuck out of my house.
Yeah.
Like, this is terrible. I got like restless.
Yeah.
And then Tommy would come over with his bike and we'd bike 10 miles every day.
Oh, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I'd start going on walks, running, just hopping outside. Like it forced me, just due to being inside and being restless, I had to make an adjustment because I could feel myself going crazy.
Yeah. No, I think that if there was a whole restructuring of health and wellness in America, you would see a big decrease in pharmaceutical sales and use. I really do believe that.
And I do think a lot of that's in food as well. I mean, there's so many ingredients in food that are banned in other countries. And like the companies here that like let's say like that Berea company that makes the spaghetti, Barilla or whatever, they probably sell it in Spain with 10 less ingredients. But it's coming from the same company. But because it's not illegal here, we get like red dye, blue dye, and all this shit that probably causes like inflammation, like stress, anxiety. It's just poison. They're non-natural things that you should not be eating on a day-to-day basis. But then that same company goes and sells it to someone in Europe, and it's just wheat and flour and water.
It's true.
You know?
It's true.
So I think it's like as much as I think social media is cancer for a lot of people and preying on a lot of people, it's like that's not just the one thing. That's not why people have these issues. Like there's so much going on right now. It feels like the world's moving so fast.
Yeah.
Well, it's gotten smaller and it's moving fast.
And like the issue is you can, like back in the day, you get the newspaper, right? And you'd read the newspaper and be like, all right, what's going on around me? That was your source of like terror.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this kid's missing. But you saw that like once a year, if that.
Right.
Now you can follow news sites that will post what's going on in Topeka, Kansas.
Yeah.
Some shitty little city in India.
Yeah.
Somewhere in China, this, and this. And it's like, oh my God, all these people are missing and dying and getting eaten by bears. It's like, dude, that's always been happening. Why are you looking at that?
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't be stressing out over that.
Yes.
But it's just constant boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
So then you're in this mindset of like, holy shit, the world's going to shit.
Yeah.
But that's just because that's what you're ingesting. Like, that's always happening. You don't need to know that.
You know what's really interesting is that I think that has a lot to do with why there's all these prescriptions for anxiety. I don't think that the human brain was made to accept all of that information.
No.
I think that could be what's causing all the anxiety, or a lot of the anxiety, especially in your generation and younger generations, is it's too much consumption. We were not made to consume this much information 24/7. And I think our brains short circuit.
It's like an issue with serotonin or dopamine.
Yeah.
But I know the one thing that freaks me out the most about myself, and probably a lot of my friends can relate to this, and I don't even know the solution, that's partly what scares me, is I wake up and probably look at my phone to shut off my alarm and then check my notifications. Then I brush my teeth and take a shower, and then I drive to work. Then I'm in front of a screen from 8:30 to 5:30.
Yeah.
Then I come home and look at my phone and to do whatever. maybe I'm not on my phone for like an hour at the gym or something, but then it's like I'm either playing Xbox, watching sports, or doing both at the same time,
Mhm.
and then I'm reading on my iPad. So literally for like fucking 15 hours a day, I'm looking at a fucking screen.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know how to not do that because everything these days is on a screen.
Yeah.
The only thing
Yeah.
I could do to cut that down a little bit is to buy physical books, but
Yep.
that's more expensive and more of a nuisance to deal with.
Yeah.
You know,
No.
I highly recommend the Kindle. The Kindle Reader gives you that natural light.
Well,
I don't think it has the
I
blue
have it on
light.
my iPad. I go on dark mode and go all the way down to the brightness. And
Yeah.
even on the Kindle, my point would still be the same. Like, it's just I feel like I'm always on a screen.
Yeah. No, and it'll be interesting to
We
see.
all are.
Everybody is.
That
And
can't
even,
be good for your eyes.
and
Well, you
the,
gotta. Do you have the blue
light
blockers?
glasses? Yeah.
but even for the brain, it's just, I think it's a different way that everything is getting absorbed. And I do think it's too much consumption, and the brain is like short circuiting. So these medications maybe are kind of helping with that. I don't know. But I think it would be interesting to reverse it and everyone go back. But once it's out, it's hard to out of the can. You can't,
There's no
you can't
fixing
put it.
it.
There's no
It's only
fixing it.
getting worse. Because now
Yeah.
you have the fucking Oculus glasses that just
Yeah.
attach right to your damn face.
Yeah.
They cannot be good for you.
You know
And
what?
now the Apple Vision Pros are out where you can do all your work with goggles attached to your face.
Yeah. No.
And
It's,
soon you're gonna have a chip in your brain that puts things out in
Well, you
front of
know,
you.
I
That's the future
I think the solution is to find something to make a living where you're not
in front of
in front of a screen. Yeah, whether like a river rafting guide in Southern Oregon
Okay.
or Northern no, that's what I'm saying. But that's the solution.
But
Well-
that's like not common.
It's not practical.
well, they're saying that the new multimillionaires or whatever will be trade electricians, plumbers. That there's so few now that those will be the new people
Those
that
are
are
better
really,
examples than
yeah.
the river guide.
Yeah.
that are
The only
making-
issue with those jobs is you do sacrifice your body.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
that's
you
true.
you fucking throw your back out, bending
Yeah.
over doing things.
Right? No,
I was
it's true.
because I
It's
read a
physical.
whole Reddit post on that the other day, and everyone was like, "Yeah, no, what you're saying is correct. Like, if you
Yeah.
don't know what you want to do in your life, you could go get a trade. But like, I've grown up with like my dad was one of the examples was like a railroad conductor.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like
Mhm.
that dude had been in and out of surgeries his whole life.
Right.
So like, yeah, he's put a living, but he's fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like you're either sacrificing your brain or your body.
Yeah.
It
No, it's-
seems. Well, on that note, let's be optimistic. And where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I don't know. I don't think about that. I probably should. I'm not really I don't have like goals. I don't have I'm not a goal driven individual. I don't write down like, oh, I want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like at the start of the year, I know a lot of people probably put in like, this is what I want to be in a year. I want to make sure I accomplish this. I just kind of
Mhm.
mentally like keep track of how I want to things to play out. Like I told myself that I'd be less lazy this year, and that's like my main focus. And that
Mhm.
encompasses a lot of things. I think by being less lazy, a lot of things will come from that.
Yeah.
And so like this, like I'm doing dry January for this year or for this month. I've been trying to go to the gym every day, at least doing cardio. If I haven't worked out, I've done cardio.
Mhm.
But like normally I always try to do this. I'm gonna try to actually make it past like the 15th.
Mm-hmm.
5 years though, I'm not sure. I
Because you'll be 32,
Yeah.
right?
I think I do want to get into a mode or job that I could see myself being at for like a dozen years or beyond. Because right now I'm in this, I work for a company that, I get a piece of the pie basically. And I feel like I've done that. I've worked at 3 different companies. It's all been the same shtick of like, we'll
Mhm.
give you a base, make sales, you get a percentage. I want to be in a place where like I have more control over that. So something of like an independent sales agent or like at the very beginning stages of starting my own firm with whatever industry that I find interesting, I'm having success in.
Mm-hmm.
But that's something I'm gonna try to figure out a lot this year.
That's a goal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's definitely a
because I
goal.
want to move to something that like I actually like doing. I do want to bring my resume back into the mix here a little bit.
Mhm.
Because my last job dealt with money, and I liked that a lot. So I think I'm going to try to go back to something like that, whether it be for financing or insurance or something that involves money. I think that's probably, I'd say in 5 years, I'll make my goal on this podcast to be doing something with my, whatchamacallit, majors.
Your degree.
Yeah.
That's a great goal.
Yeah, interesting.
That's a very good goal.
Because I'm just first job is telecom. I could quite literally give a fuck about phone and internet. Right now, I sell a website subscription for like data. It's cool. I'll probably continue to stick around here for a little bit longer, but I'm definitely, you know, getting restless in my mind of, all right, what's next? And I wanna fix that. It feels like I get a job, it's new and exciting, and then once I figure it out, I'm like, this isn't cool. This isn't fulfilling.
Yeah.
Like, what do I do? What's next? I keep always asking, what's next?
Yeah.
And I want to get into a mode where that's not always at the forefront of my like thought process when I think about my job.
Or whatever you're doing is fulfilling that need.
Yeah, exactly.
The
Whoa.
job itself is
Yeah.
is growing and changing. So it's fulfilling that need.
Yeah.
If you think about that for us, I have a consistent job I've been in forever, but I've got 50 hobbies to address
Yeah.
the need you're talking about.
Mhm.
If you figure it out, you're bored, move on. It's a hobby thing for me.
This
Yeah.
is true. And there's something to be said when once you get married and start a family also that
Yeah.
challenges you enough. But
Yeah, I'm hoping to have that
you know.
figured out a little bit better in 5
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, I mean you're still very young.
For sure. But I think by
So
32, I should have a general idea of what or who I'm trying to settle down with to kind of finalize things here.
that sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's ready.
No, I know.
No, I've stopped with the pressure. I'm whenever you guys, if you guys want children or not, I support whatever path you take. So, you know, and I want you guys to be happy, and that's the main thing. I think everything you just said are great goals. Those are goals. You
Yeah.
just stated goals.
I just think if I focus on just doing more on a day-to-day basis instead of like
hmm
fucking wake up, work, decide if I'm going to work out or not, and then decide what's for dinner, and then that's the end of my night, and then watch sports. Like I got to figure out something to do that's a little bit more meaningful with that time,
As you do that, I think
or
more
be
things
more
will,
productive.
yeah. But I think as you do that, more things will fall into place
Yeah.
in terms of what's interesting, what you want to spend your time doing.
100%.
Yeah, I'm not too concerned about it. I do believe like even something as simple as like making sure I'm active and go to the gym or like go on a run
hmm
and like do some sort of like physical activity. Like luckily softball starts up next week, so that'll be something to do.
hmm
But I feel like just getting in that mindset of like focusing on getting better sleep, trying to eat better, and trying to be more active in the gym, like by making the changes to accomplish that, things that aren't even related to that will fall into place and like work itself out as well.
Yeah. No, I agree. And everything you just stated is, I mean, so many people struggle with all those things. So,
I'm still
um,
trying to figure it out.
yeah, yeah. But I think you're right. You know, if you continue to live that way and challenging yourself and adjusting and trying to improve and be more productive, I think more and more things will come because you're going to be making space for those things to come. So it makes sense. So thank you for sharing everything with us, Nathan.
Yeah, last thing I'll say,
Yep.
I'm not the biggest caffeine drinker.
Mm.
I drink coffee definitely. Usually it's every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday when I'm in the office, but I work from home Monday, Friday, and I typically don't caffeinate myself when I'm at my apartment. And try not to drink caffeine on the weekend at all. My friends have created this company called Fungora that is a lion's mane extract supplement that you're supposed to do. I think it's like 2 months on, couple weeks off, or maybe like a month on, a couple weeks off. I've been putting that either in my coffee or just doing it straight. And I got to say, it's like if you've ever taken Adderall or like Vyvanse or anything like that to focus, it's exactly like that without all the bad side effects.
Wow.
I feel like laser focused when I do it, and it does wake me up. So whenever I've done the Fungora with my first cup of coffee, typically I never have to drink a second cup of coffee that day. That goes live at the end of February on Amazon.
What's the name of the company again?
Fungora, Fungora.
I can't wait to try it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've
We're
been
all
wan-
very excited for it. They've been working on it for 2 years now. So,
That's awesome.
and we just got the samples from them a couple months ago. And now we're all kind of the test dummies, and it's definitely interesting.
That's
Yeah, cool.
amazing. And I think you were saying that on the days you don't have coffee, it wakes you up just the same. You
I
feel,
meant to take it before coming on here
yeah,
because I think it would have, I mean, it ended up being fine, but
Yeah.
it's one of those things where like I lock in when I'm on that,
yeah,
Interesting.
and there's no side effect.
Yeah.
It doesn't keep you up. Your heart
Well, it's
rate
all
doesn't
natural.
increase. Like coffee, you're like, I'll drink caffeine in the morning and I feel like I'm still feeling it at like 5,
yeah.
or like I feel cracked out somehow. And then I stopped drinking coffee this week because I was going to bed so late, and I didn't drink coffee the last 2 days, and I was able to get to bed a little bit earlier. And I'm talking coffee at like 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
like that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And then by not drinking coffee all the time, now when I do need to drink coffee, it does wake me up versus it just being this crutch where it's like, I'd rather drink coffee and at work versus if I don't drink coffee, I'm ruined.
That's me.
Yeah. That's how a lot of people are.
Yeah. But
so this has been a nice alternative.
Interesting.
So it's Fungora Lion's Mane?
Yeah, so yeah, the company's Fungora. It's a lion's mane extract. It's got something else in it, but I forget. And they go live the end of February on Amazon.
Nice. Well, again, I can't wait to check it out. So,
but yeah, thank you for having me. I hope to be back soon because there's definitely more to talk about. More nitty gritty details of various random, phases of my life that we kind of glossed over. And I think there's definitely some funny stories that, like, I know you guys have told me that we could share. And I've told you guys, or maybe I haven't told you guys, but I've told other people that, that could definitely be shared on here that I think would be entertaining for other people.
No, we definitely want to have you back soon to go over some more stuff like that. And also, we plan on having you back in a few years to do another recap to see where you're at. But yeah, we want to do a part 2 and dig more deeper into some of those college years and some other stories.
We have to dig into some of we talked about doing some music sessions.
Oh, yes.
Really got to do that.
That's actually something that I think Brian and Nathan are going to possibly start doing is sharing some music and talking about music. And stay tuned for that because I think that'll be really interesting if you're into music. So thank you.
And if you're not, what the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah. So thank you again for listening. We welcome all questions, comments. We love to hear from you, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Take care.